Chapter 1817. The 9 chaos banners were slashed in half at the waist and turned into nothing. The array that trapped Lin Xian was also broken in an instant. Without the threat of the chaos array, Lin Xian snorted coldly. With the killing sword in hand, he charged forward like a ray of light. Soon, he arrived in front of the middle-aged man. The demonic sword was dripping with blood as it quickly slashed down. The middle-aged man's face was pale as he felt the terrifying killing intent from the demonic sword. In the next moment, he roared as a ray of chaotic light rushed out of his body and quickly condensed in front of him. Boom! The light of primal chaos transformed into a figure that was identical to him. It blocked the shocking sword strike for him. He quickly retreated as countless rays of light rushed out of his body and brought him to a safe distance. Poof! The 9 darkness demonic sword descended and split the figure formed by the chaotic light. Substitution technique. Lin Xian raised his eyebrows in surprise. He did not expect the middle-aged man to have such a life-saving technique. The middle-aged man's face was very ugly. This was his life-saving technique that could save his life in a crisis. However, he had used it now. Next, he had to fight with all his strength. If he was stabbed by the demonic sword again, he would not be able to escape. The middle-aged man's face was very ugly, because he did not expect the other party to be so powerful and push him into such a desperate situation. In the next moment, his fingers formed a strange ancient seal. Chaotic chi that filled the sky surged out of his body, transforming into 9 ancient runes that revolved around him. Each rune carried a mysterious power, as if it had traveled through time and space. It was filled with a shocking aura. Buzz buzz buzz. The middle-aged man waved his hand, and the 9 ancient runes bloomed with light that shot into the sky. A terrifying aura instantly erupted and surged forward. Humph! In the face of such a strange attack, Lin Xian snorted coldly. He waved the 9 darkness demonic sword again, and the sword chi flashed into thousands of sword shadows that completely covered the front. Clang clang clang. The sound of metal clashing could be heard as the terrifying sword chi slashed on the 9 ancient runes, creating an earth-shattering collision sound. It was like a powerful army that shook the void. Boom! The 9 ancient runes that flickered with light exploded under everyone's shocked expressions. What? How is this possible? The powerful middle-aged man was completely dumbfounded. These 9 runes were one of his secret techniques. It was incomparably terrifying. Each rune was capable of killing a 6-star king. 9 runes appeared at the same time, and the power was even more terrifying. But now it was shattered by someone in an instant. It was unbelievable. There was even a trace of fear in his eyes. This was because the young man before him was the strangest person he had ever met. He didn't even feel this way when he faced the saint of all beginnings. However, even though he was terrified, he would not give up. He would not allow Lin Xian to interfere with the holy maiden. Therefore, in the next moment, he roared and grabbed the golden spear again. This golden spear was about 3 meters long and was extremely dazzling. Mysterious patterns were carved on it, and it was filled with power. This was an earth-rank artifact that had been tempered by him for hundreds of years. At this moment, it was still one with him. Under his control, the golden light formed a radiance that enveloped him. Boom! The long spear was like a dragon as it moved out once again. Stubborn! Lin Xian snorted coldly and used the dragon 8 steps. His entire body was extremely fast. The 9 darkness demonic sword in his hand turned into a black flash of light and streaked across the air. Clang! The sword chi was sharp and cut through the golden light that filled the sky. The 9 darkness demonic sword collided with the golden spear and sent it flying. Puff! Then the demonic sword pierced into the middle-aged man's body. The terrifying sword chi was like a violent current, completely destroying the middle-aged man. Plop! The middle-aged man's body fell, and the light that filled the sky disappeared. The surroundings were silent. This was too shocking. Was the other party really going to force the holy maiden out? They didn't dare to imagine. If this was true, then this would definitely be a shocking event. This was because another prodigy of the Holy Sun level had appeared. Everyone looked forward and stared at Lin Xian. However, at this moment, the void fluctuated violently. Then, a huge vortex appeared in the sky and spun rapidly, forming a strange phenomenon between heaven and earth. A terrifying aura spread out from the vortex and quickly descended. It was as if the 9 heavenly stars were descending. It was incomparably terrifying. The terrifying energy swept out in all directions, shrouding Lin Xian in an instant. Pung, pung, pung. Just this energy alone made many kings kneel on the ground. They couldn't resist at all. How terrifying. The other experts quickly retreated, afraid that they would be caught in the crossfire. Lin Xian frowned and looked up at the sky. The next moment, he used the heavenly dragon 8 steps and turned into a stream of light, instantly disappearing. Boom! The void where he was originally at was directly shattered. It's an expert. Lin Xian arrived at a safe place and frowned. This energy was much stronger than any of the previous experts. The surrounding kings of the All Beginnings Holy Land all cried out in alarm. Holy Maiden! The Holy Maiden has made a move. Their eyes burst with light as hope rose in their hearts. That's right. The Holy Maiden of All Beginnings had indeed made a move. Sure enough, in the next moment, a figure descended from the huge vortex of spiritual power, like a fairy from the 9 heavens. The figure was wearing a blue gauze dress, giving off a clear and transparent feeling. A light purple gauze belt was tied around her shoulders, and her black hair was tied up in a flowing cloud hairpin that casually scattered over her shoulders. A gust of wind blew past, giving off an elegant feeling, as if a fairy had descended to the mortal world. Holy Maiden of All Beginnings? Lin Xian frowned and stared at the figure. He didn't expect the other party to take the initiative to appear. You are that Lin Xian? I didn't expect you to dare to run wild here. The Holy Maiden of All Beginnings' voice was cold. Boy, surrender obediently. You are not my opponent. Also, hand over Lu Mingyue and kneel on the side. I can give you a quick death. Otherwise your fate will be. As she spoke, a powerful aura surged from the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings. Hearing these words, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and asked, You are the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings? I am very curious. If I capture you again and take you as a maid, what will the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings do? I wonder how the All Beginnings Holy Land will react. As soon as these words came out, the surrounding kings were in an uproar. If this was really the case, it would definitely shock the world. One had to know that the other party had already captured Lu Mingyue. If they also captured the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings, it would definitely pierce through the heavens. The All Beginnings Holy Land's face would be swept to the ground. Sure enough, the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings' expression sank, and she frowned slightly. Boy, I already gave you a very good choice, but you didn't listen. Chapter 18:18. Brat, I already gave you a good choice, but you didn't listen. Since that's the case, don't blame me. Her voice was cold, as if she were a goddess from the 9th heaven, high and mighty. You want to kill me with just you? You're far from it. Lin Xian coldly snorted and pointed his sword at the sky. Today I'll capture you and make you my maid. I'd like to see if the All Beginnings Holy Land still dares to cause trouble for me. Humph. Hearing this, the Saintess of All Beginnings coldly snorted. Her eyes were filled with killing intent, and her killing intent soared to the sky. The other party actually dared to speak such arrogant words, and wanted to make her his maid. How could she endure this? Thus, her terrifying aura soared to the sky, and her killing intent spread in all directions. In an instant the entire space froze. The surrounding temperature rapidly dropped, and the terrifying aura caused everyone to tremble. That brat is too arrogant. He actually dares to provoke the Saintess of our holy land. It seems he really doesn't know life from death. Yes, the Saintess' combat strength is unparalleled, and she has a supreme treasure in her hand. Even the older generation isn't her match, let alone a mere 4-star king. Just wait. He will definitely be killed. The Saintess is invincible. Discussions broke out. Obviously, the appearance of the Saintess of All Beginnings had regained the confidence of these Holy Land martial artists. Lin Xian stood tall and straight, his black hair fluttering in the wind. He stepped on the void and quickly arrived above. Sword energy revolved around him, faintly crackling like thunder. When he arrived above, the surrounding white clouds instantly collapsed. Nothing could withstand his sword energy. Brat, you dare to kill the people of my All Beginnings Holy Land. I will make you pay. The saintess of all beginnings' beautiful eyes emitted two cold rays of light. They were like sharp lightning that pierced through the void. Her clothes fluttered, and countless streams of chaotic energy tumbled under her feet, forming a lotus platform that supported her. Chaotic light flashed around her, and a sharp aura pierced through the clouds. Terrifying killing intent soared into the sky. They were like silver divine dragons, emitting a terrifying aura that swept out. You are going too far. Do you really think I'm easy to bully? Lin Xian coldly snorted. A terrifying aura also rushed out from his body, and the 9 hell devil sword in his hand flickered with a jet-black light. The sword vibrated, releasing a thunderous sound that caused the entire space to tremble. Boom! Boom! With a sweep of the demonic sword, a terrifying sword chi flew out, resisting the light of chaos. In the next moment, the battle between the two erupted. Terrifying energy swept out in all directions. It was like a tidal wave that kept surging. One had to admit that the saintess of all beginnings was truly amazing. For this woman to be able to become the holy maiden, her strength must be incomparably powerful. Her strength was no weaker than Lu Mingyu's at all. Furthermore, after becoming the holy maiden, she would definitely have the support of her sect. Her current strength was even more unfathomable. Lin Xian had also met his match. With the killing sword in hand, he swung it around, unleashing terrifying sword chi in all directions. The void cracked open, and terrifying cracks appeared one after another. Every time the two of them collided, an incomparably powerful energy would erupt, shooting straight into the sky. Not only that, but the terrifying energy also shocked the spectating kings. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Can this brat really contend against the saintess? Impossible. Who the hell is he? How can he have the combat strength of a holy son? Could it be that he's really a holy son who hid his identity and came to provoke us? Exclamations came one after another. Obviously, they were shocked by the scene in front of them. They even guessed that Lin Xian's true identity was very likely to be a holy son of a large sect. The saintess of all beginnings also frowned. After fighting with him, she could naturally sense the terrifying strength of her opponent. No wonder he could capture Lu Mingyue and kill so many experts. It seemed that he was not opportunistic, but truly powerful. However, as the saintess of all beginnings, how could she admit defeat? I have to admit that you're indeed very powerful. However, do you really think you can defeat me like this? You're too naive. The saintess of all beginnings sneered. Then she waved her hand, and a white dagger appeared in her hand. The dagger was the size of a palm, and was incomplete. It was even covered with many cracks. Obviously, it was a defective product. However, as soon as it appeared, it carried a terrifying aura that swept in all directions. Even Lin Xian frowned. This aura was so terrifying that it could even threaten him. His opponent was indeed the saintess of all beginnings. She could take out such a terrifying treasure as soon as she appeared. It's all over. Holding the incomplete dagger, the saintess of all beginnings snorted and waved her hand. Buzz! 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 The void trembled and then cracked. Rays of golden light swept forward like a divine river from the 9th heaven. This energy was so terrifying that it was like a real Milky Way. It carried a terrifying murderous aura. That power caused the expressions of everyone present to change. Lin Xian also frowned. He flipped his palm and summoned the 1,000 Beast Cauldron. Then he kept clapping his hands. Clang! 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 The 1,000 Beast Cauldron trembled violently and made a loud sound. Then it quickly grew larger. Black light flashed all over the sky, blocking the front. The 1,000 Beast Cauldron stood in front of Lin Xian like a black mountain. Clang! The next moment there was a shocking collision sound. The silver light all over the sky collided with each other, bursting into a dazzling light. Countless thunderbolts fell and bombarded in all directions. The surrounding palaces turned into dust in an instant. You can block it. Seeing this scene, the saintess of all beginnings was also surprised. She didn't expect her opponent to have such a means. The light all over the sky dissipated. Lin Xian's figure appeared. He stood in the void, his face cold. The sword light in his eyes became more and more intense. It was like a peerless divine sword, cutting through the void. He stepped out and swept the saintess of all beginnings with the demon's sword in his right hand. The sharp sword light tore through everything. The destructive black dragon fist in his left hand was extremely violent. It was like an angry dragon rushing forward. The saintess of all beginnings roared angrily. The lotus platform under her feet released the light of chaos. The monstrous aura enveloped her whole body. She quickly rushed over. Rumble! With a loud sound, the saintess of all beginnings stretched out a giant palm. The earthy yellow hand was condensed by the chaotic qi. It was extremely fierce and grabbed at Lin Xian. The demon sword rose into the air and slashed at the giant hand. At the same time, Lin Xian's eyes emitted two cold lights. The thousand-beast cauldron in front of him slowly rotated. At this moment, the sky and earth were spinning, and the sea of anger was rolling backward. The misty chaotic qi was blocked. The giant hand was covered by the sword qi, making a roaring sound. In an instant the whole space was torn apart. Kill! Lin Xian roared. The sword light was biting cold, and the stars all over the sky flashed. Countless sword qi, like meteors, streaked across the sky. Chapter 18-19. The kings watching the battle all changed their expressions, because this aura was too strong. Except for the saintess of all beginnings. No one present could resist this aura. The saintess of all beginnings also looked cold because Lin Xian's sword qi was like a vast ocean, making her sway like duckweed. She could be knocked over at any time. However, her body emitted an endless amount of chaotic qi, and the chaotic lotus under her feet bloomed, firmly holding him back. A strong defense guarded her, resisting the terrible sword qi around her. Even so, she was still swept by a wisp of sword qi, and a corner of her clothes suddenly flew up in smoke. A sword mark appeared on her jade-like skin. Blood dripped down, dyeing her clothes red. Looking from a distance, there was a different kind of beauty. However, the saintess of all beginnings' expression was cold, and her eyes emitted a strong killing intent. It was incredible that he could hurt her. She couldn't bear it. The next moment she shouted, and the chaotic light on her body suddenly burst out, sweeping in all directions. For a moment, the whole sky lost its luster. At the same time, a terrifying king's domain instantly shrouded Lin Xian and the whole space. Boy, you dare to hurt me. I will make you pay a painful price. The saintess of all beginnings said, gritting her teeth. Her voice was so cold that it seemed to freeze the void, making everyone's heart beat wildly. Humph! Lin Xian also snorted coldly, unmoved. He held the demon's sword in his hand, and the dragon sword domain appeared, and then he completely disappeared into the void. He didn't really disappear, but he used the heavenly dragon's 8 steps, and his speed was too fast. Some kings couldn't catch his trace at all, and they all thought he had disappeared into thin air. The saintess of all beginnings' pupil shrank sharply, because her opponent's speed was once again beyond her expectations. But the next moment, she waved her hand, and countless chaotic light formed a light curtain in front of her. The chaotic lotus under her feet emitted a terrifying aura, which frightened people. The two fought in the air, and it was very terrifying. Moreover, their domains collided one after another, and each time, a terrible crack was torn in the void. 6 God Sword Technique. Lin Xian let out a long roar. 6 illusory sword gods rushed out from his domain, and cooperated with him as they charged forward. The 6 Dao sword god needed each of them to be formed by a sharp sword qi, which was terrifying to the extreme. The void shattered in an instant, and the surrounding light of primal chaos was also being annihilated, and it even became much dimmer. This scene was too terrifying. Lin Xian was like a god of swords. Wherever his sword pointed, everything would be destroyed. Nothing could stop it. Primordial chaos. At the critical moment, the Holy Maiden of all beginnings shouted. Immediately, her king's domain gave off an incomparably terrifying light as boundless primal chaos qi surged out and swept out in all directions. In an instant Lin Xian was trapped. Anger, he was too angry. The saintess of all beginnings' face was gloomy, because she didn't expect her opponent to be so strong that he could break her unique skills one after another. Boundless chaotic light condensed in her hand, forming a resplendent lotus. It swept towards Lin Xian, intending to crush Lin Xian. Kill! The 6 Dao sword gods combined into one to destroy all techniques. Lin Xian let out a long roar, and his whole person became extremely powerful. His body emitted a terrifying sword light, and the 6 Dao sword god phantoms around him also merged with him. A huge burst of sword chi broke out and rushed into the sky. Boom! The long sword swept out, and the black sword chi, like a long river, instantly slashed towards the resplendent lotus. In the next moment, the sound of the mirror breaking was heard, and the lotus formed by countless chaotic light was destroyed in an instant. Even the upper body of the saintess of all beginning was shrouded by the terrifying sword light. No! Seeing this scene, the surrounding kings screamed frantically, because they were very worried about the saintess of all beginning. Lin Xian's sword chi was so fierce that it made them tremble with fear. They knew that there were not many people who could resist it. Boom! Boom! The roar in the sky continued, and one black hole after another appeared. Then in the black hole vortex a figure appeared. It was the saintess of all beginning. However, when everyone saw the figure, they were all stunned, and even their eyes widened in disbelief. The upper body of the saintess of all beginning had been completely cut open, and a terrifying crack had appeared. At the crack, countless mysterious runes flickered, and quickly spread throughout the saintess of all beginning's body. A clone! Seeing this scene, Lin Xian frowned. He didn't expect that it was just a clone of the saintess of all beginning. The surrounding kings were all stunned as well. Before this, they didn't know that it was just a clone of the saintess of all beginning. It wasn't until now that they saw the situation in front of them that they realized it was a clone. Moreover, it was a magical ability of their all-beginning holy land called the Chaos Clone. They didn't expect that the saintess of all beginning had mastered it. In the sky, the saintess of all beginning's clone had an abnormally ferocious expression. She looked at her body that had been cut open, and a cold light burst out from her eyes. "Brat, you actually dared to injure this clone of mine? Just you wait. When my real body arrives, I will definitely kill you." With that, the Chaos Clone began to change, and the saintess of all beginning's appearance gradually dimmed. Then her delicate body began to melt, forming a mass of chaos chi. This chaos chi was different from ordinary chaos chi. It was carefully refined by the saintess of all beginning. At this moment it was incomparably deep and full of power. It turned into a bolt of lightning and quickly rushed down, wanting to kill Lin Xian. Obviously, this clone had been destroyed, so the saintess of all beginning wanted to use the last of her energy to kill Lin Xian. Boom! A terrifying bolt of lightning flashed, and the void was ruthlessly torn open, revealing an incomparably dark crack. Wherever it passed, nothing could stop it. In an instant, it arrived in front of Lin Xian, and fiercely blasted down. Boom! Lin Xian's pupil shrank sharply, because this speed was too fast, not even slower than his heavenly dragon's 8 steps. It was impossible for him to leave now, so he could only resist. The dragon sword domain quickly emerged, and countless sword chi interweaved in front of him, forming a 100-meter-tall azure dragon divine shield. An azure dragon was lying on it, looking as if it was alive. Not only that, but he also used the great dragon sword soul to cut a vacuum around him. He wanted to devour that powerful energy. Boom! In the next moment, the two collided, and terrifying energy swept out in all directions. The entire sky was instantly shrouded in endless light. Whoosh! 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 The surrounding kings kept retreating, and at the same time, their eyes flickered as they stared ahead. They wanted to know if Lin Xian had been killed. That boy is definitely dead. This is all the power of the clone, and it can definitely kill him. Damn boy, how dare you be so arrogant and provoke our saintess of all beginning? Now you know how powerful we are. Cold laughter rang out one after another. Chapter 1820. Sneers could be heard from all around. Obviously, they thought that this power was enough to kill the other party. The violent explosion continued, and the entire space shook as if it would shatter at any time. Everyone stared into the distance, waiting for the final result. But soon, they were dumbfounded, and even fear appeared in their eyes. That was because Lin Xian's figure had appeared. Not only that, but he was unscathed and unharmed. He was surrounded by terrifying space cracks, and in front of him was a huge azure dragon sacred shield. It had blocked all the attacks. How could this be? He's fine. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. The attack just now was extremely terrifying. Not many people below the almighty level could resist it. Even if they could resist it, they would definitely be seriously injured. But now not only did he resist it, but he was also unscathed. They could not believe it at all. Humph! Lin Xian glanced around, and then a gust of wind blew, pushing away all the dust and fog around him. Run! Seeing this scene, the surrounding people quickly fled in all directions. They did not dare to stay any longer. None of them was a match for Lin Xian. If they stayed any longer, they would probably end up like the saintess of all beginnings. However, at this moment, the dark red divine dragon appeared, and a formation enveloped the entire city. Want to run? It's not that easy. The terrifying formation flickered and blocked all of them. Ruffian dragon, don't kill them. Just take away the resources and treasures on them, Lin Xian said in a deep voice. Then, he ignored them and looked at the palaces in front of him. Although some of the palaces were destroyed in the battle, there were still many of them. In particular, the huge palace in front of him was shining brightly. It was as if the palace was the place where the saintess of all beginnings had cultivated. He had to admit that the other party was too careful. He had only sent a doppelganger. Moreover, what surprised Lin Xian was that the other party must have cultivated some kind of incredible cultivation technique. The strength of the doppelganger would increase greatly, and so would the strength of the main body. That was why he had sent a doppelganger to cultivate. I wonder what treasures there are in there. Lin Xian was looking forward to it. His figure flickered, and he arrived at the palace. Then he waved his hand, and all the doors opened. The hall was very quiet, and there was even a mist surrounding it, emitting a fragrant scent. This is ambergris. Lin Xian was shocked. This was no ordinary incense. It was refined from the body fluid of a peerless demon king, and it had incomparably miraculous effects. When a king realm cultivator was cultivating, they could light one up to increase their cultivation speed and achieve twice the results with half the effort. This kind of incense was very magical and very precious. He didn't expect the saintess of all beginnings to have it. She was indeed worthy of being the holy maiden of a peerless holy land. It seemed like she was truly wealthy. Lin Xian didn't hold back either. He took a deep breath and instantly sucked in all the fragrance around him. He could feel the spiritual power in his body boiling like boiling water. The next moment he strode forward. There he found countless supreme-grade substandard god crystals. There was even a fist-sized god crystal at the center. It is indeed a good item. Could it be that he's willing to send a clone to cultivate? Lin Xian was shocked. God crystals were definitely an excellent cultivation resource for a king realm cultivator. Even supreme existences would be envious of them. Ordinary kings didn't have such resources. Only the holy sons and holy maidens of peerless holy lands could enjoy such treatment. He didn't hold back. His figure flickered, and he arrived in front of the crystal and sat down cross-legged. He held the god crystal and rapidly circulated the immortality art, absorbing the pure energy within. His body shone with incomparable light, forming vortexes one after another. He absorbed all the surrounding spiritual energy and the fragrance of the ambergris. As for the task of cleaning up the battlefield outside, it was left to the dark red divine dragon. With the power of the dark red divine dragon and the assistance of the array, it was able to easily trap everyone. However, the dark red divine dragon didn't kill these people. Instead, it took away their storage rings. Then it gave them a good beating. Afterward, it picked out some energy from these storage rings and began to cultivate. The entire city was still sealed by the array, so the cultivators of the All Beginnings Holy Land couldn't send out any news. The people outside also didn't know that a shocking change had taken place inside. Like this, half a month passed. Lin Xian went from one palace to another, sweeping away all the energy inside. It had to be said that this was indeed too rich. This was definitely not an ordinary place, because there were too many treasures here. It was hard to believe. In fact, Lin Xian's guess was correct. This was indeed not an ordinary place. This was a training ground that the All Beginnings Holy Land had prepared to reward the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings. The purpose was to let the newly promoted Holy Maiden of All Beginnings increase her cultivation and consolidate her strength. However, they didn't expect that the Holy Maiden of All Beginnings would send out a clone, and that clone would be killed. This allowed Lin Xian to benefit from it. Boom! The huge palace trembled, and a sky-high spiritual energy fluctuation soared into the sky, piercing through the clouds and rapidly spreading. Along with it came a terrifying aura that overflowed into the heavens. Inside the palace, Lin Xian's body bloomed with light. Then he slowly opened his eyes, and his entire body became incomparably powerful. I broke through and became a 5-star king. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth rose into a smile. Under normal circumstances, even if he had many means, he wouldn't have been able to break through and become a 5-star king so easily. But now there were too many treasures here. He had absorbed these treasures, and with the effect of the Dragon Cliff incense, he was able to break through. He had become a 5-star king in advance. His strength had undergone an earth-shattering change. Now his strength had definitely reached the level of a holy sun. He was one of the peak existences among the younger generation of the Eastern Wilderness. Outside, the dark red divine dragon was also howling excitedly, because he had also broken through. After robbing so many kings' storage rings, he had obtained abundant energy and finally broken through to become a 5-star king. Now he was one step closer to recovering to his peak state. Lin Xian looked at the dark red divine dragon, and the smile on his face grew wider. He knew that the dark red divine dragon's strength would be of great help to him. After spending these days together, he also knew some of the dark red divine dragon's past. The dark red divine dragon was an almighty at his peak state. Now that he was a 5-star king, he wasn't far from the peak of the almighty realm. He believed that the dark red divine dragon would break through again in the near future. If the dark red divine dragon recovered to his peak state and became an almighty, then he would obtain a powerful boost. At least when facing other almighties, he would have the confidence to face them. The dark red divine dragon flew over and asked, "Boy, what should we do with the rest?" Chapter 1821. Lu Mingyu's temperament was still outstanding. However, her complexion was somewhat pale. Because of the previous pursuit, she had suffered a serious blow. Of course, this blow was mainly psychological. She had never expected that the All Beginnings Holy Land would chase after her. Lin Xian looked at her and slowly said, "I'll leave those people from the All Beginnings Holy Land to you. You can do as you see fit." "What? Leave them to me?" Lu Mingyue was stunned. She didn't dare to believe what she had just heard. "Are you sure you're not joking? Leave them to me?" Lu Mingyue asked again. Lin Xian indifferently said, "Of course I'm not joking. Since the All Beginnings Holy Land is also chasing after you, we are now in the same boat. Thus, in my opinion, there is nothing wrong with leaving those people to you to deal with." "Aren't you afraid that I'll release them?" Lu Mingyue asked again. "That's your problem. It has nothing to do with me." Lin Xian shrugged his shoulders, appearing as if he didn't care at all. To tell the truth, he really didn't care about those people. Moreover, he had other objectives. The next moment he continued, "Are you willing to be chased by the All Beginnings Holy Land? Don't you want to change the situation?" "Change?" Lu Mingyue sighed. Her complexion was extremely unsightly. "You are not a disciple of a holy land. You don't know how terrifying the background of a peerless holy land is. Not to mention that you only have the strength of a holy sun. Even if you were an exceptional expert, you wouldn't be able to shake a holy land. Only if a true holy sun was resurrected would you be able to do it. It would be impossible for others." Hearing those words, Lin Xian was shocked. From the looks of it, every single peerless holy land was an incomparably terrifying existence. But soon, he shook his head and said, "You're overthinking things. I'm not asking you to retaliate against the All Beginnings Holy Land. What I mean is, do you want to regain your status as the Saintess of All Beginnings?" "Regain my status as the Saintess of All Beginnings?" Lu Mingyue was stunned. Disbelief appeared in her eyes. She didn't expect Lin Xian to say such a thing. "What's wrong? Are you surprised?" Lin Xian asked. "Very surprised. Are you sure you're not joking with me?" Do you really want me to become the saintess of all beginnings? Of course, Lin Xian said with a smile. At least you becoming the saintess of all beginnings is not the worst result for me. In fact, it is of great benefit to me. You want me to help you? Lu Mingyue instantly understood what Lin Xian meant. That's right. What do you want me to do? Lu Mingyue asked again. I'm not sure yet. Just like back in the Tilted Moon Profound World, I just wanted to form an alliance with you. When I'm in danger and need help, it'll naturally come to you. And as a reward, I will make you the saintess of all beginnings. You trust me that much? Aren't you afraid that I'll betray you? Lu Mingyue raised the most crucial question. Lin Xian's expression also became extremely solemn. He said coldly, Believe me, if I can make you the holy maiden, I can definitely pull you down. So it's best if you don't betray our alliance. Hearing this, Lu Mingyue nodded and took a deep breath. How confident are you that you can make me the saintess? That will depend on how many people in the All Beginnings Holy Land can support you. What I can do is eliminate the current saintess of all beginnings, and let you return to the All Beginnings Holy Land. As for whether you can use your influence to make those people support you after you return, I can't help you with this. Lu Mingyue understood. Indeed, this was a matter of the All Beginnings Holy Land. Lin Xian was a loose cultivator and couldn't help at all. However, just the fact that Lin Xian could kill the saintess of all beginnings was enough to move Lu Mingyue's heart. One had to know that killing a saintess was an extremely difficult matter. The saintess of all beginnings was very strong and stood at the peak of the younger generation. She also had countless guards and experts by her side. There were even experts hibernating in the dark to protect her. Therefore, if Lin Xian didn't make a move, Lu Mingyue wouldn't be able to kill the saintess of all beginnings by herself. In fact, she wouldn't even be able to contend against the other party. Don't worry. As long as you can kill the saintess of all beginnings, and let me return to the All Beginnings Holy Land, I have confidence in what will happen next. Lu Mingyue wasn't lying about this. It was impossible for such a large and peerless holy land to be harmonious internally. It was definitely divided into many factions. The faction she belonged to and the faction the saintess of all beginnings belonged to were two different factions. Moreover, there was usually friction between them, and their relationship wasn't good. Therefore, if she could return, with her influence and strength, she would definitely be able to obtain the support of the experts in her faction. Of course, the premise of all this was that Lin Xian could kill the saintess of all beginnings. Alright, it's settled then. Lin Xian raised his hand and high-fived Lu Mingyue 3 times, forming an alliance. Now, can you undo the seal in my body? Lu Mingyue asked immediately after the alliance was formed. Of course, Lin Xian smiled. Then his fingers kept moving, sending runes into Lu Mingyue's body. In the next moment, Lu Mingyue's expression became excited, because she felt that the sealed power was quickly recovering. Soon, Lin Xian removed all the seals, and Lu Mingyue's power was quickly restored to its peak. However, she didn't know that Lin Xian had left a final restriction in her body. Even a powerful figure couldn't detect this restriction. This was a restriction that Lin Xian had recently comprehended, and his technique was very strange. He did this not to go back on his word, but to prevent the other party from going back on her word. If the other party really became the saintess of all beginnings, and then brought countless experts to hunt him down, he would definitely be in trouble. Although he had the strength to kill the other party again. But he didn't want that to happen. Therefore, he left a final life-saving measure, which was to place a mysterious restriction in the other party's body. If Lu Mingyue abided by the alliance and didn't attack him, then this restriction might not be used in his lifetime. And if the other party really wanted to betray him, then he would let the other party know how powerful he was. Lu Mingyue wasn't stupid. When she learned that her power had recovered, she immediately launched a thorough search. He searched every inch of his body from the inside out. In the end, she didn't find any restriction, so she breathed a sigh of relief. Of course, there was a restriction in her body, but it was so magical that Lu Mingyue couldn't detect it at all. What are you going to do next? Lu Mingyue asked. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. I killed a clone of the saintess of all beginnings a few days ago. I think it will definitely make her furious. But at the same time, she will be very careful and won't show up easily. Chapter 1822. Something more exciting? What's that? Lu Mingyue was confused. Lin Xian said with a smile. Think about it. If I announce to the entire eastern wilderness that I want to auction the Saint of All Beginnings undergarment, won't it cause a sensation? You want to auction the Saint of All Beginnings undergarment? Hearing this, Lu Mingyue was also stunned. Her beautiful eyes even went blank. She really didn't expect Lin Xian to come up with such a plan. On the side, the dark red dragon laughed crazily. Haha boy, as expected of a kindred spirit. But your idea is even more wretched than mine. I like it. The dark red dragon was really excited. He was a guy who wanted to see the world in chaos. And he knew that if this news spread out, it would definitely cause a stir in the eastern wilderness. The Saint of All Beginnings would definitely go crazy. Lu Mingyu's mouth twitched. She felt that Lin Xian's plan was really infuriating. If the Saint of All Beginnings knew about it, she would definitely fly into a rage. But soon he frowned. But where are you going to get the undergarment? If you just randomly find one, no one will believe you. About this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and stared at Lu Mingyue with a smile. Why are you looking at me? Seeing Lin Xian's eyes, Lu Mingyu's heart skipped a beat. Then her face darkened. Damn guy, you're not thinking about me, are you? Hehe, in the end, the biggest beneficiary of this matter is you. Of course, you have to do your part now, Lin Xian said with a smile. Hearing this, Lu Mingyu's face completely darkened. Damn guy, he's actually thinking about me. The next moment, she gritted her teeth and said, No, this is absolutely impossible. If you can't, then forget it. Lin Xian shrugged. Anyway, I won't be the Saint of All Beginnings in the end. Why should I spend so much effort to help you? Moreover, with my skills, it's easy to avoid the Saint of All Beginnings. But you. Hearing this, Lu Mingyu's eyes darkened and flickered. She knew that Lin Xian was right. If he wanted to leave, he could just find a place to hide, and the Saint of All Beginnings wouldn't be able to find him. But she was different. She would be recognized wherever she went. And if she followed Lin Xian, she would always be a maid. If the Saint of All Beginnings, she would definitely be hunted down. Therefore, her situation was the most dangerous. But the next moment. But remember, you can't tell anyone about this, and you can't let a third person know about it. Otherwise, it'll definitely kill you. Her to SS. T. With S. Lin Xian's eyes widened. This chick is changing her clothes in public? He was really surprised. He didn't expect her to be so open. Hehe. Do you think you can block everyone's line of sight with SS? Lin Xian's lips curled up in a smile. Then his eyes flickered, and he activated his heavenly secret divine eyes. Mysterious runes appeared as he looked ahead. To be honest, Lu Mingyue wasn't being so open. Hers S. Even their soul power couldn't see through her. However, she still underestimated Lin Xian. She didn't know that Lin Xian had the heavenly secret divine eyes. Therefore, at this moment, Lin Xian had a clear view of her movements and figure. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and muttered to himself, Her body is really good. I didn't expect her to be so good. Suddenly, Lin Xian knew that she was done. Therefore, the golden light in his eyes quickly disappeared and returned to normal. He wouldn't let her know that he was watching just now. Moreover, he didn't want to expose the secret of his heavenly secret divine eyes. The S. Lu Mingyu's figure appeared again. However, this time she had something in her hand. It was a pink doo-doo. Lin Xian had already seen the color of her doo-doo. He had even seen the whole process. However, he could only pretend that he didn't know. He smiled and said, Pink. You're really young. Lu Mingyu's expression was ugly, and even a little gloomy. Hearing the other party's teasing, she fiercely glared at the other party again, and then reluctantly stretched out her hand. Here. Lin Xian took the red doo-doo and lowered his head to smell it. It smells so good. Is this your Botus fragrance? It smells so good. Lin Xian looked intoxicated. Lu Mingyue gritted her teeth and said, Damn boy, don't go too far. Otherwise, Don't blame me for being rude. To be honest, Lu Mingyue was really mad. Especially Lin Xian's action just now. She almost went berserk. Okay, I'm just joking with you. Lin Xian waved his hand, and then put away the pink doo-doo. Next, the two discussed and prepared a plan to kill the Saint of all beginnings. Of course, this matter couldn't be done by just the two of them. They also needed the dark red divine dragon, and many formations. They couldn't let their guard down. There must be a large number of masters around her. And there might even be powerful existences. Therefore, they must kill her in one blow. Otherwise, if they missed this chance, she would definitely be very vigilant next time. It would be difficult to kill her again. Lu Mingyue said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Lin Xian also nodded and said, Don't worry, kings below the level of powerful existences are no threat to me. As for the powerful existences, although I can't shake them now, it's not a problem to trap them for a while with formations. I'll leave this to the dark red divine dragon, because the dark red divine dragon used to be a powerful existence. Although its realm had fallen, it still had vision and experience. Coupled with his attainments in formations, he must have such a formation in his hands. However, the materials needed to inscribe it were more precious. But no matter how precious it was, Lin Xian had to make it. Otherwise, this plan would be difficult to succeed. As for the materials needed by the dark red divine dragon, most of them could be found with Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue, because the two of them were really rich. But there were also some that they didn't have at all, and had to obtain from the outside world. Chapter 1823. The two of them were very rich, but there were some things they didn't have. They had to be obtained from the outside world. Therefore, they had to find the materials and inscribe a formation that could trap an almighty before they could make a move. Innate purple thunderstone. We have to find it. Otherwise, the formation won't be able to form, said the dark red dragon. Is it difficult to find? Lin Xian had never heard of the innate purple thunderstone. Lu Mingyue was shocked. It was indeed a treasure. She didn't expect it to require such a treasure. To be honest, she knew the value of the innate purple thunderstone, but she didn't expect it to be used in a formation. Of course, don't forget that we're trying to trap an almighty. No, not an ordinary king, said the dark red dragon. Where can we get the innate purple thunderstone? Asked Lin Xian. Although the stone was precious, he had to get it, because compared to the benefits he would gain in the future, this stone was too insignificant. If he killed the current saintess of all beginnings, and let Lu Mingyue take the throne, he would be able to form an alliance with the All Beginnings Holy Land. At least among the younger generation, Lin Xian would be supported. The stakes involved in this were not something that could be compared to a mere stone. Therefore, no matter how precious the innate purple thunderstone was, he had to get it. Lu Mingyue thought for a long time and finally said slowly, I've heard of this thing. It seems to have appeared in the northern region. The northern region? Lin Xian's eyes lit up. The northern region wasn't the northern plains continent. It was the northern region of the eastern wasteland. The true spirit world was divided into 5 continents, but each continent was too big. It was far larger than the Tianwu continent Lin Xian had been in before. Therefore, these continents were divided into 5 regions: north, south, east, west, and center. The northern region was the northern region of the eastern wasteland. In that case, let's go. Let's go to the northern region and see if there's any information about the innate purple thunderstone. Since they knew that the innate purple thunderstone was in the northern region, Lin Xian and the others naturally had to go. As for how to get there, that was a problem. The eastern wasteland was very big. Although the northern region was in the north of the eastern wasteland, it would take at least a few years to fly there. The best way was naturally to teleport. However, although the dark red divine dragon and Lin Xian also had a teleportation tool like the profound jade pedestal, they were unable to teleport across regions. Only some peerless great sects and peerless sacred grounds would have such a long-distance teleportation array. However, Lu Mingyue said, Don't worry about the teleportation. I know a place that can teleport us to the northern region. Oh, there's such a place. Lin Xian's eyes twinkled. That's natural, because this world doesn't only have the desolate era, and the peerless Holy Lands, there are also some mysterious forces. Even people from Holy Lands and remote antiquity families sometimes need to hide their identities. Therefore, in some places in the Eastern Wasteland, there are super teleportation portals for people who need them. Following this, Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue used the mystical jade pedestal to teleport. 2 days later, they arrived at their destination. If it wasn't for Lu Mingyue leading the way, Lin Xian wouldn't have dared to imagine that the place they'd arrived at would have a super teleportation array. That was because this place was simply too ordinary. This place wasn't a bustling city or a peerless great sect. Instead, it was an ordinary village. The village was very simple, and there weren't many flourishing things. Furthermore, there weren't many people here. Evidently, not many people knew about this teleportation array. If it wasn't for Lu Mingyue, Lin Xian also wouldn't have known that there was a super teleportation array hidden in this village. The two of them landed outside the village. Lu Mingyue took out a jade mask and put it on. She was currently being chased by the All Beginnings Holy Land. Therefore, she couldn't be recognized. Lin Xian's method was even simpler. He simply changed his body and took on another appearance. The two of them also wore ordinary outer clothes. Since they'd arrived here, they didn't want others to discover their identities. In the next instant, the two of them walked toward the village. There weren't many people inside. There were only a few children playing on the streets. Furthermore, the majority of them were cooking in their own homes. From time to time, smoke would slowly rise from the chimney. As for Lin Xian, he followed Lu Mingyue and headed toward the depths of the village. I've been here before and used the teleportation array once. Therefore, I'm rather familiar with this place. Follow me. Don't wander around randomly. There are peerless experts guarding this place. Lu Mingyue said through voice transmission. Peerless experts. Lin Xian was shocked to hear that. It seemed that this place was indeed extraordinary. It had both a super teleportation array and a peerless expert guarding it. Apart from that, there were also so many ordinary villagers hiding in this special place. It was truly shocking. Following a winding and rugged path, Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue arrived in front of a ruined temple. Soon after, their figures flickered and they entered that place. The temple was very shabby. There were cobwebs everywhere, and there was also a lot of dust and fog inside. However, Lu Mingyue didn't care about this at all. She walked to the front of the stove and bowed 3 times to the statue of the earth god. Then, she took out a few precious heavenly treasures and placed them on the counter in front of her. Lin Xian watched silently from the side. He didn't say anything because he believed that Lu Mingyue must have a way to teleport. Buzz! Sure enough, in the next moment, the counter suddenly emitted a light, and the heavenly treasures on it were taken away. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect that the counter actually contained a teleportation array. Moreover, it looked very strange. Lu Mingyue, on the other hand, seemed very calm because it wasn't the first time she had seen this. She wasn't anxious. Instead, she waited patiently. As expected, not long after those heavenly treasures disappeared, there was a flash of light, and a palm-sized stone appeared on the counter. The stone's shape was very strange. Seeing that stone, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He knew that the teleportation array should be able to work, because he was also an expert in teleportation arrays. Therefore, he could naturally tell at a glance that the stone that appeared on the counter was a part of the teleportation array. If that stone was removed, even if there was a super teleportation array, it couldn't be activated. However, if the stone on the counter was placed properly, the entire teleportation array would be complete. That way it could be used. The heavenly treasures that Lu Mingyue had handed over earlier were the cost of using the super teleportation array. Alright, it's done. Let's teleport. Lu Mingyue picked up the stone and said to Lin Xian. Then, she took the lead and walked towards the southeast. There were some miscellaneous items there. However, Lu Mingyue waved her sleeve and moved those items away, revealing a dusty teleportation array. Chapter 1824. The teleportation formation was very mysterious. There were strange patterns and runes carved on it. Obviously, it was a teleportation formation set up by a super expert. It could teleport across long distances. However, the teleportation formation was missing a corner. Obviously, it was missing the stone in Lu Mingyu's hand. As for Lu Mingyue, she placed the stone in her hand where it was missing. Suddenly, the teleportation formation made cracking sounds. Then it emitted a faint light. When Lin Xian saw this, he knew that the teleportation formation was complete. They could teleport now. In the next moment, he took a step forward and came to the teleportation formation. Lu Mingyu's figure flickered, and she stood beside him. Then, Lu Mingyue waved her hand and took out 60 pieces of subdivine crystals from her storage ring. She placed them in the groove of the teleportation formation. Buzz! With the support of energy, the teleportation formation under their feet started to shake. It emitted a bright light. Then a ball of light shrouded the two of them. Buzz! In the next moment, the two of them disappeared in the air. The teleportation formation quickly dimmed. Then it became ancient. Crack! The stone that Lu Mingyue had placed on earlier left the teleportation formation and floated in the air. Then it disappeared. The ruined temple returned to its original state. Those who did not know the details would not take a second look at it. On the other hand, Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue were teleported away. The two of them entered the void tunnel and went through a long-distance teleportation. The process was very boring. They could not even feel the passage of time. After some time, the space shattered and the two of them appeared in the sky. Buzz! As soon as they appeared, Lin Xian took out a spiritual boat and caught the two of them. They would definitely feel dizzy after coming out of the teleportation formation. Even the spiritual power in their bodies would not flow smoothly. Therefore, they had to calm down first. Luckily, the two of them were powerful. Therefore, the discomfort only lasted for a moment. In the next moment, the two of them returned to normal. Then Lin Xian stood on the spiritual boat and looked down. The north region was very vast. The terrain here was mostly plains. The boundless prairie was like a green ocean. The north region was the northernmost part of the eastern wasteland continent. Further north was the northern plains continent. Therefore, the topography of the northern region was more or less similar to that of the northern plains continent, but it wasn't completely the same. Go! Lu Mingyue and Lin Xian flew at high speed. Their destination this time was a huge city in the northern domain called Violet Cloud City. The north region occupied a vast area in the eastern wasteland, and it was also very prosperous. Therefore, Lu Mingyue repeatedly warned Lin Xian not to be arrogant here, and to avoid fighting as much as possible. Lin Xian rolled his eyes at these words. He wasn't a battle maniac. If others didn't find trouble with him, he naturally wouldn't make a move. However, if there was really someone who was blind enough to make a move on him, then all the rules would be meaningless. Lin Xian wouldn't lose out. After spending nearly half a day, the two of them finally saw a city. Thus, they quickly landed and inquired about it. In the end, they confirmed their location and bought a map of the north region before they left. Violet Cloud City was very famous in the north region. Almost everyone knew about it, because there was a very famous Violet Cloud Palace in Violet Cloud City. The Violet Cloud Palace was only a very huge palace. There were even some that were bigger than it. However, none of them were more famous than it. This was because the metal used to build the Violet Cloud Palace was too magical and unique. It was the extremely precious Violet Cloud Cold Steel. This was a very precious metal, and it was even a material used to refine earth-rank treasures. However, someone actually used such a precious metal to build a palace, and an extremely huge one at that. One could imagine how shocking this was. Moreover, the person who built the palace wasn't an ordinary person at all, because ordinary people wouldn't be so generous. Even if they had the heart, they wouldn't be able to take out so much Violet Cloud Cold Steel. The builder of the Violet Cloud Palace was a clan of the ancients. The Gu clan. That's right, it was the Gu clan. The eastern wasteland was very big. The eastern region was the territory of the Wavering Light Sacred Land, and the north region was the headquarters of the Gu clan. Of course, other than the Gu clan, there were other peerless sects and sacred lands. However, the Gu clan had produced a great emperor, so their foundation could be said to be very powerful, shocking everyone. After more than 10 days of flying, Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue finally arrived above Violet Cloud City. Looking from afar, there was a huge city on the vast land. Moreover, this city was very strange. It was like a purple cloud that had descended on the land. What a strange city! Lin Xian narrowed his eyes in the sky. Even without the Violet Cloud Palace, this city alone was enough to be famous. The reason for that was because the city was simply too mysterious. Lu Mingyue also exclaimed, "I've been here once, but I didn't expect to see this Violet Cloud City now. I'm still shocked. It's indeed very majestic. No wonder it's so famous." Lin Xian also laughed loudly. "Let's go down." Then his body swayed and fell down like a meteorite. Lu Mingyue also floated and followed behind. Although Violet Cloud City looked small from the sky, Lin Xian became more and more amazed as they descended. The reason for that was because the city was simply too vast. It occupied an area of tens of thousands of miles. It was definitely a huge city. After entering Violet Cloud City, Lin Xian saw people coming and going on the streets. Powerful martial artists could be seen everywhere. It seemed that Violet Cloud City was not only vast, but there were also countless experts. It should be a place where martial artists like to gather. "Let's go to the Violet Cloud Palace." Lu Mingyu's expression was calm. She took a deep breath and walked forward. Since they had come to Violet Cloud City, they had to go to the Violet Cloud Palace. Otherwise, it would be a wasted trip. Lin Xian's face was calm, and a smile hung on the corner of his mouth. He followed behind Lu Mingyue and looked around from time to time. However, not long after, he narrowed his eyes. This was because he had already discovered that there was a huge palace in front of him. The palace was completely purple and emitted a faint light that surrounded it. On the walls, there were even purple clouds that appeared as if they were real clouds. "Is this the Violet Cloud Palace? It's so magnificent." Lin Xian was extremely amazed. This was because he knew that the Violet Cloud Palace was made of violet cloud cold iron. Its value could be said to be priceless. The Gu family was really generous. They were willing to use such precious metal to build such a huge city. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. The clan of the ancients is really rich. It's so wasteful. "It's not wasteful at all," Lu Mingyue said calmly. After all these years of business, the Gu family had already recouped their capital, and they had made a lot of money. Chapter 1825. What? It's actually breaking even. Lin Xian was shocked. He knew the price of the purple cloud cold steel. The amount of purple cloud cold steel needed to build such a huge palace was shocking. Perhaps only the clan of the ancients could afford it. The closer they got to the purple cloud palace, the more they could feel its magnificent aura. When Lin Xian was enveloped by the multicolored light, he felt a warm feeling in his body. In front of them, there were two huge purple doors. They were like two door gods. They were filled with a magnificent aura. At the entrance, there was an endless stream of people coming and going. After Lu Mingyu's brief introduction, Lin Xian knew that the expenses here were shocking. Even a casual meal was probably not something an ordinary King Realm expert could afford. One would have to spend a lot of money to be able to afford it. If one wanted to have a good meal, even the smaller sects would not be able to afford it. One would have to be extremely wealthy to be able to afford it. Of course, as long as one had money and resources, one would not have to worry about not being able to find what one wanted here. Natural treasures, cultivation techniques, divine weapons, peerless beauties. As long as you have money and divine gems, you can get it all here. When Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue arrived at the entrance of the palace, they could even see the splendor and extravagance of the palace inside. It was indeed a paradise on earth. However, ordinary people would not be able to afford it. Lin Xian said as he strode forward. There were some guards at the entrance. They were all kings. Their main task was to collect the entrance fee, 500 divine gems per person. Just the entrance fee alone would make the Gu clan a huge profit. This amount of divine gems was nothing to Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue. Therefore, the two of them paid it easily. After entering the palace, Lin Xian exclaimed in surprise. This was because he realized that this place was even more spacious than he had imagined. He could not see the end of it. This was a real palace, truly majestic and luxurious. The ones he had seen in the past were too small. The entire palace was divided into many areas. High up in the sky, there were stars that were refined from extremely precious crystals. There were even some flying beasts flying in the sky, adding to the celestial aura. In the distance, there were mountains and rivers, as well as a few spiritual springs that emitted tinkling sounds. How is this a hall? This was clearly a paradise on earth. On the other side there was singing and dancing. There were even two peerless beauties in blue and red, who were playing the zither. The sound of the zither was melodious and pleasing to the ear. It could even stir up the spiritual energy in one's body. Even further away, there were sounds of intense collisions. Saber lights and sword shadows were extremely intense. Clearly there were people fighting. That was not a place to cause trouble or break the rules. Instead, it was a place specially opened up for cultivators to fight. It could be said that the entire hall had everything that one could wish for. It was definitely a money-squandering den. How about it? Do you want to find two beauties to accompany you? Lu Mingyue asked indifferently. It's enough to have you by my side. What's wrong? Is there a beauty more beautiful than you here? Lin Xian laughed. At the same time, his eyes swept across Lu Mingyu's body. Feeling Lin Xian's gaze, Lu Mingyu's body tensed up. At the same time, she snorted coldly and did not reply. After a while she said coldly, "Let's go. However, I have to remind you that I might fight with someone later. I've been so angry these past few days. If I don't vent it out, I'm afraid it will affect my martial heart." As she spoke, there was a trace of biting cold murderous intent in her voice. Indeed, ever since she was captured by Lin Xian in the Tilted Moon mystic world, and treated as a maid, Lu Mingyue had been mad with anger. Especially after she came out, she was even more desperate. Originally, she thought that she could be protected by the sect. However, she did not expect that even the sect wanted to kill her. Therefore, over the past few days, her heart was filled with a lot of murderous intent. Now that there was a battle area, she was afraid that when the time came, she would have to find some people to fight to vent the anger in her heart. That's up to you. Even if you turn this place upside down, I won't care. Of course, the prerequisite is that you don't get recognized. Otherwise, if someone catches you and takes you back to the All Beginnings Holy Land, it won't be fun anymore. Lin Xian shrugged his shoulders. Then, he spent a large amount of money to buy some exquisite food. Then, he arrived at an open space and sat down cross-legged. As he drank, he enjoyed the singing and dancing, as well as the beautiful sound of the zither. The area he chose was very good. Not only could he see the singing and dancing, he could also see the intense battle on the other side. However, the only downside was that the price was too high. Even Lin Xian felt a bit of heartache. As for Lu Mingyue, she simply sat there and did not pay any attention to the singing and dancing. Her gaze was completely focused on the battle area. The battle area was very vast. Furthermore, it was supported by spirit formations. It was large enough for king-level cultivators to fight there. Furthermore, it would not affect others. Only the Purple Cloud Palace dared to do such a thing. If it were any other place, the entire city would have been destroyed long ago. Lu Mingyue was finally unable to bear it anymore. She spent a large amount of money to purchase the right to participate in the battle. Then she stepped onto the stage. Oh my, it's actually a beauty! When the surrounding warriors saw this scene, they all cheered excitedly. Many of them even laughed, attracting the attention of the people around them. That was because it was not that women could not become powerhouses. It was just that those who fought here were generally battle maniacs. Most of them were men. Moreover, the fact that a woman had stepped onto the stage naturally made them even more excited. From the looks of it, she's a beauty. Her figure is very perfect. Unfortunately, she's wearing a mask on her face. I can't see clearly. Trust me, this kind of woman must be of the highest quality. Brothers, hurry up and attack. If you can conquer her with force, she might follow you home wholeheartedly. Laughter could be heard. Clearly, many people had their eyes on Lu Mingyue. I'll do it. With a long howl, a man in a black short-sleeved shirt stepped onto the stage. This person looked a little wretched. As soon as he stepped onto the stage, his triangular eyes stared at Lu Mingyu's body and kept scanning her. Feeling the other party's wretched gaze, Lu Mingyue snorted coldly. She was already furious and wanted to vent her anger. Now that someone was so blind that he dared to hit the muzzle of her gun, she could not be blamed. Boom! She waved her jade-like palm, and a terrifying light transformed into a huge jade palm that fiercely blasted forward. Boom! An earth-shattering collision sounded, and the wretched man was directly sent flying. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. They could not believe it. To be honest, although they were interested in Lu Mingyue, and many people even had designs on her. However, these people thought that Lu Mingyue was not strong at all. Any one of them could defeat her. Chapter 1826. Her opponent's palm strike was simply too powerful. It had actually sent the black-clothed man flying with ease. One must know that the black-clothed man was a 5-star king. What kind of strength did she possess to be able to send a 5-star king flying with a single punch? Perhaps only a 6-star king would be able to accomplish such a feat for a time. Many people shut their mouths. That was because their strength was comparable to that black-clothed man's. In fact, they were even weaker than him. Originally, they had dared to tease Lu Mingyue because they believed that she was weak. But now, she was so powerful that they didn't dare to do it again. If they were targeted by her, they wouldn't be able to escape or resist. Therefore, the surroundings became much quieter. However, more and more people were spectating. They all wanted to see exactly how powerful Lu Mingyue was. She's a fierce person. I wonder where such a beautiful, strong woman came from. I really want to see her face under the mask. I wonder who will be able to lift it and let us feast our eyes. Haha, her strength is pretty good. Beauty, come home with me. I guarantee that you'll enjoy a lifetime of happiness. Another loud laughter was heard. Hearing this, the crowd turned their heads one after another, trying to find the person who had spoken. Since he dared to speak so arrogantly, he was definitely very powerful. He was at least a 6-star king. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to speak like this. Sure enough, in the next instant, they locked onto a person. It was a man in his 30s. He had a tall and sturdy build. Although his appearance was ordinary, his eyes were emitting resplendent light. Moreover, what shocked the crowd even more was that his cultivation had reached the level of a 6-star king. Expert! He's definitely an expert! The crowd cried out in alarm. The king before them was much stronger than the black-clothed man from before. As for Lin Xian, who was watching the battle from afar, he shook his head slightly. He knew how powerful Lu Mingyue was. She was extremely powerful and wasn't much weaker than him. More importantly, she was currently in a fit of anger. She probably wouldn't show any mercy when she attacked. Even a 6-star king wouldn't be able to block her furious attack. Sure enough, when Lu Mingyue heard the laughter, she immediately frowned and coldly said, "You speak too much nonsense." After saying this, she directly attacked. Lu Mingyue didn't use her primal chaos chi or primal chaos light. She didn't even use any martial techniques of the All Beginnings Holy Land. She didn't want others to recognize her. Although she did not use any primal chaos martial arts, as an outstanding genius disciple, she had many cultivation techniques. Many of them were mysterious skills that he had obtained from the ancient ruins. Now that he had unleashed them, their might was incomparably terrifying. Lu Mingyue quickly formed a seal with her jade-like hands, forming a blue bell in front of her. Then she shook it quickly. Clang! Clang! A crisp sound rang out, and blue ripples surged out from the bell like waves of the sea. It spread out in all directions. Pung pung pung. The terrifying sound waves pierced through the void. Even though everyone was in a safe place, they still felt a chill run down their spines. What? To be honest, that 6-star King Realm expert's expression also changed. Because this blue bell was really too strange, it made him feel a sense of trepidation. Wang. The blue sound wave was extremely terrifying, and it instantly arrived before the 6-star King Realm expert. The 6-star King snorted coldly. Although he was shocked by the blue sound waves, he couldn't run away. As a 6-star king, he had his own pride. In the next moment, he stretched out both his palms, and a dazzling light formed a purple shield in front of him. The purple shield was as big as a house, and light constantly flowed on it, emitting bursts of purple light to block the blue sound wave. Boom! 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 A violent collision sound rang out as the purple shield and the blue soundwave collided. Instantly, a huge explosion occurred in the void. Countless waves of air rolled like waves, crashing in all directions. The entire area was also covered in a dazzling light. Poof! Crack! Crack! The purple light shield shattered in an instant. It was cut into pieces by the blue soundwave. Not only that, but the blue soundwave also blasted the 6-star King Realm expert, causing him to vomit blood and fly backward. Even a 6-star King Realm expert was defeated? Everyone's eyes widened in disbelief, because this was really too unbelievable. Who exactly is that person? How can she be so powerful? Even a 6-star King Realm expert is no match for her. Moreover, she looks very young, which makes them even more suspicious. Could she be a genius disciple of some sacred ground? Thinking of this, everyone discussed spiritedly, trying to find out Lu Mingyu's identity. However, they couldn't figure it out at all. Oh, not bad. Looks like she's a little chilly. I like her. At this moment, another sneer was heard. In the distance, Lin Xian shook his head slightly. It seemed that another ignorant person was about to make a move. How could there be so many people in the world who were so full of themselves? The crowd dispersed, and a young man in his mid-20s walked out. He was wearing a white robe, and he looked quite dashing. However, he was very arrogant when he addressed Lu Mingyue. Little girl, I'll play with you. However, do you dare to make a bet with me? If you lose, you'll obediently be my woman. You're courting death. Lu Mingyue shouted, and a cold light appeared in her eyes. In the next moment she quickly attacked. The blue bell in front of her bloomed with light, forming blue ripples that rushed forward. You're really hot-tempered. However, I like this type. The young man in white laughed loudly. Then, he pulled out a long saber and slashed forward. Buzz! With a slash of the saber, a dazzling saber ray descended from the sky like a waterfall. It even lit up the entire sky. Boom! At that moment, the cold saber blade cut through the blue ripples, and even hit the bell directly, splitting it apart. He actually succeeded. This young man is an expert. When the crowd saw this scene, they exclaimed in surprise. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. He did not expect that there would be someone who could compete with Lu Mingyue. It seemed that the North region was indeed full of outstanding people. This young man should be from the Liang family. He's actually from the Liang family. No wonder he's so powerful. Yes, although the Liang family is not a clan of the ancients, it's still an extremely large family in the North region. Their status is not inferior to that of the great sections. Discussions broke out. Obviously, the Liang family was also one of the top forces in the North region. Haha, little girl, did you hear that? I'm a genius disciple of the Liang family. Come back with me, and I guarantee that you'll enjoy a lifetime of glory and wealth. Noisy. Lu Mingyue snorted coldly and attacked again. She waved her jade-like hand, and immediately, a dazzling red light surged from her body. A terrifying palm shadow shot out, accompanied by a red phoenix that descended from the sky. For a moment, the red light covered the sky and swept in all directions. Chapter 1827. Seeing this scene, the surrounding warriors' expressions changed, because they realized that the other party's strength had increased again. Compared to the blue bell from before, it was much stronger. Could it be that this girl was hiding her strength before? Everyone was shocked and did not dare to imagine. Even the white-clothed young man was stunned. He naturally felt the change in the energy, and his expression immediately became extremely solemn. The long saber flashed, and turned into a stream of light that slashed forward. A terrifying light spread out in all directions. Boom! In the next moment, the red phoenix collided with the saber light that filled the sky. An intense collision occurred, and the energy spread out in all directions. Instantly, the array was activated and formed a light screen that protected the surroundings. Lin Xian watched the battle from afar and nodded slightly at this scene. It seemed that this white-clothed youth's strength was not bad. He was also an extremely powerful existence among the 6-star kings. Liang family, Lin Xian muttered. Obviously, this was a powerful family. Otherwise, they would not have such a genius disciple like this white-clothed youth. However, although he was surprised, Lin Xian was not worried at all because he knew Lu Mingyu's strength. A battle of this level was not enough to defeat Lu Mingyue. As expected, the flaming phoenix and the saber light collided in the air, and then disappeared together. However, at this moment, a bright light appeared in Lu Mingyu's palm again. It was like a divine rainbow that illuminated the surroundings. This was a long sword. It was as red as the sun, and emitted powerful energy. As soon as it appeared, the entire void trembled violently. Whoosh! With a swing of the sword, a terrifying sword light soared into the sky and slashed forward ruthlessly. Pung! The white-clothed youth's expression changed drastically. He kept swinging his snow-white saber, and quickly counterattacked. The saber light did not stop, and it carried an extremely cold aura. Even the surrounding space was covered in blue frost. In the sky, snowflakes were falling. On one side was fire, and on the other side was ice. The two opposing forces collided in the air. Little girl, your strength has exceeded my expectations. But do you think you can defeat me like this? You're too naive. Come home with me obediently. The white-clothed youth sneered. Blue light burst out around him. An endless cold aura spread out. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes were cold. His entire being was like an icy war monarch, emitting a powerful aura. The long saber in his hand swept out. You're courting death. Don't blame me. Lu Mingyu's expression was ice-cold. She was already furious to begin with. Now that the other party was provoking her again and again, it made her even angrier. Therefore, in the next moment, a trace of killing intent appeared in her eyes. She displayed a powerful martial art, preparing to get rid of the person in front of her. Kill! Lu Mingyue shouted. Her expression was unusually cold and murderous. In the next moment, she waved her jade-like hands, and the energy in her body continued to accumulate. Then a fiery red half-moon light formed above her head. Vacuum scarlet moon slash. With a wave of her jade-like hand, a red arc was drawn. That half-moon arc was like a full moon, directly tearing apart the void. Boom! The saber light that filled the sky was torn apart in an instant. The terrifying red light enveloped the surroundings, and instantly hit the white-robed youth. Puff! The white-clothed youth widened his eyes in disbelief, because his body had been cut in half. Impossible, ingenious! He opened his mouth wide and struggled madly, but blood continued to gush out. He did not believe that anyone could kill him. How dare the other party kill him? Wasn't the other party afraid of the Liang family's revenge? Plop! The white-clothed youth fell to the ground, his blood staining the ground red. As for the red half-moon, it quickly disappeared from the sky. Killed! The young master of the Liang family was killed. The crowd was shocked and could not believe it. One should know that the white-clothed youth was a disciple of the Liang family. Moreover, judging by his strength, he was definitely a genius disciple. Such a person was highly valued in the Liang family, but now he was killed. The Liang family would definitely be furious. Moreover, the Liang family was one of the top forces in the North region. They would definitely not let the matter rest. Sure enough, when they saw this scene, two middle-aged men immediately rushed over. They came to the front and took away the white-clothed youth's body. Then, they stared at Lu Mingyue. Damn demoness, how dare you kill our young master? You're dead meat. Just you wait. The Liang family will definitely not let you off. Apart from the two of them, there were two other figures who left quickly. It seemed that they should have reported to the Liang family and called for reinforcements. Humph. He only has himself to blame. Lu Mingyue snorted coldly. After killing the white-clothed youth, the resentment and killing intent in her was obviously released by a lot. However, Lin Xian frowned slightly. He did not expect Lu Mingyue to kill the other party directly. This surprised him a little. One should know that when he came previously, the other party repeatedly warned him to try his best not to cause trouble. But now, before he did anything, the other party killed the other party herself. Sigh, how much resentment did this chick accumulate? Lin Xian shook his head slightly. Since the person was already killed, he could not say anything more. He could only wait for the right time to react. If worst came to worst, he could wait until he obtained the Khanate Purple Thunder Stone and leave the North region completely. No matter how powerful the Liang family was, they could not have such great power. Humph. Who else? In front, Lu Mingyue looked around and said coldly, although she had released most of her killing intent, she had not released all of it. She had to fight a few more rounds to get rid of all the resentment in her heart. Only then could she be free of all worries. Chick, you've got guts. You even dare to kill the Liang family. Someone like you is worthy of my attack. At this moment a deep voice sounded. What? Someone actually attacked. The surrounding people exclaimed in disbelief. One should know that even the Liang family's genius was killed. One could imagine Lu Mingyu's strength. But even so, someone still attacked. Who is it? How can he be so confident? In the next moment, everyone looked over. Even Lin Xian turned his head curiously. Soon, a smile appeared on his face. In front, a burly youth walked out from the crowd. He was tall like a god of war. With the addition of the Earth-rank artifact gloves, his strength would increase tremendously. It would reach an unimaginable level. Earth-rank artifact. Lu Mingyu's voice was cold. She then snorted. I have one too. Wang. A set of silver armor appeared from her body. A silvery white light illuminated the void of space, completely enveloping her petite figure. Not only that, but a silver whip appeared in his hand. It was like a silver snake that was unusually agile. It's useless. Stop struggling and come back with me. Han Shan grinned. He stomped his foot and turned into a bolt of lightning, leaving a series of afterimages in the air as he charged over. This speed was extremely fast. Moreover, it formed a terrifying explosion that caused the entire void to split apart rapidly. Boom! He punched out. Golden light shone in the air and enveloped Lu Mingyue. Lu Mingyue's eyes turned cold. The silver whip in her hand turned into a silver spear that pierced through the air. Pooh! The silver light rushed out like a silver dragon and pierced through the golden light. Then, Lu Mingyue escaped from the golden fist. In the next moment, she waved her long whip, and it turned into a sky full of silver light that shrouded the area in front of her. Boom, boom, boom. There was a violent collision. Then, the silver light collided with Yu Man's fist and caused a huge explosion. The air was torn apart in an instant. The momentum was terrifying. The surrounding kings all looked quite shocked, because this power made their hearts tremble. Boom! Another loud sound rang out as countless cracks appeared on the golden light that filled the sky. The silver light penetrated through the cracks and viciously smashed onto Han Shan's body. Pooh! Pooh! Blood spurted out. Han Shan roared and retreated. What happened? The surrounding warriors were shocked when they saw this scene. They looked forward. In the next moment they gasped. Han Shan's clothes were torn, and his arms were covered with bloody scars. There was still a silver light on it. It was obvious that he had been injured by the whip just now. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Then, they stared at Lu Mingyue in disbelief. Who is this woman? Isn't she too strong? She can injure Han Shan so easily? I'm not dreaming, am I? Exclamations came one after another. Everyone was stunned by this scene. Lin Xian was calm, because this was similar to what he had expected. In front, Han Shan's face was unusually gloomy. He gritted his teeth, and his eyes were full of killing intent. But in the end, he held back and did not attack. That was because the previous whip had given him too much shock. Even now, he still had lingering fear in his heart. If the other party's strength had been just a little bit stronger, then his arms would have been crippled by now. And until now, he had no way to deal with that soft silver whip. So this battle could not be fought. Girl, I'll remember you. What's your name? Han Shan asked. Chapter 1829. To be honest, he was too ashamed to stay here. The crowd automatically opened up a path for Han Shan to leave. Then, they quickly gathered around and looked at Lu Mingyue with excitement. This woman is too powerful. I wonder which force she's from. Why do I feel like she's already at the Saintess level? It's not that exaggerated. Have you seen a real Saintess? That's too terrifying. I think she's at most a reserve Saintess level. Maybe, but she's too powerful. I wonder if anyone can suppress her. Everyone discussed. However, at that moment a cold shout came from afar. "Who is it? How dare you kill a disciple of the Liang family? Get over here and die." Hearing that voice, everyone's hearts raced and they all turned to look. Behind them, a group of people fiercely walked over. "That's the Liang family. They're here for revenge. That woman is in trouble. I wonder if she can withstand the Liang family's anger? It's hard to say. It depends on who the Liang family sends. If it's an ordinary warrior, he might not be able to threaten that woman. But if the Liang family's young masters come, that woman will be in danger." Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes and looked into the distance. Then he frowned, because he felt a few powerful auras in the crowd. They seemed to be approaching Lu Mingyue. If those people attacked together, Lu Mingyue would not be able to resist. After all, no matter how powerful she was, she would not be able to withstand the attacks of so many powerhouses. When the time came, he would have to help. However, he quickly realized that there was no need to worry about that, because he learned from others that this place could not be bullied by numbers. Only one-on-one battles were allowed. If someone forced themselves to cause trouble here, they would be killed by the Purple Cloud Palace's enforcers. Even a force like the Liang family did not dare to act rashly. However, if they left the Purple Cloud Palace, even if they fought fiercely, the Purple Cloud Palace would not care. After learning of this rule, Lin Xian also heaved a sigh of relief. From the looks of it, Lu Mingyue was not in too much danger. Lu Mingyue looked at the group of people, and her eyes flashed. A cold light appeared on her body. She did not expect the Liang family to come so soon. However, she was not afraid at all. After all, the other party was the one who provoked her first. On the other side, the Liang family was indeed incomparably furious. When they learned that their genius disciple had been killed, they were all stunned, because they didn't believe that someone would dare make a move against their Liang clan. Therefore, very quickly, all the warriors in the Purple Cloud City rushed over. They wanted to kill the murderer for revenge. As for the surrounding warriors, they quickly dispersed and made way for a large open space. They didn't dare to offend the Liang family. Whoosh! Those martial artists of the Liang family came to the battle area. Each of them was seething with killing intent as they stared at Lu Mingyue. "You were the one who did it. Who are you? How dare you attack our Liang clan? Are you tired of living? Surrender obediently, and it'll give you a quick death. Otherwise, it'll let you know the consequences of offending the Liang family." Humph. Hearing these words, Lin Xian coldly snorted, his expression abnormally cold. "It was your Liang clan's people who provoked me first. I was only passively retaliating. His skills were inferior, so he deserved to be killed. Moreover, I'm enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens. Otherwise, I don't know how many innocent girls will be harmed. You're courting death. How dare you? Presumptuous." The Liang clan warriors were furious. She dared to be so arrogant and refused to admit her crimes. This made them extremely furious. "Little girl, since you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, don't blame us." Rays of sword aura rushed out like rainbows and swept toward Lu Mingyue. The long sword was extremely sharp and emitted a terrifying murderous aura that chilled one to the bone. "Kill!" With a roar, the fourth young master of the Liang clan was unstoppable like the god of death. What a terrifying sword technique! When the surrounding people saw this scene, they all exclaimed. Meanwhile, Lin Xian was drinking while watching the battle. The sword technique was indeed not bad. No wonder he was so arrogant. However, no matter how powerful the fourth young master of the Liang clan was, he was still weaker than Lu Mingyue. Therefore, Lin Xian was not worried. Chapter 1830. However, no matter how strong fourth young master Liang was, he was still weaker than Lu Mingyue. Therefore, Lin Xian was not worried. What he really paid attention to was the few elders of the Liang family. He could feel that their auras were too strong. If those people attacked, Lu Mingyue would not be able to handle it. In front of him, Lu Mingyue waved the silver whip in her hand and swept it forward. Clang! 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 The two terrifying attacks collided in the air and made earth-shattering sounds. At the same time, Blue ice needles appeared in Lu Mingyu's left hand. They were extremely cold and pierced forward. This was an assassination technique that was extremely terrifying. It arrived in front of fourth young Master Liang in an instant. 3 blue-silver needles pierced toward fourth young Master Liang's 3 vital points. If he was hit, he would be severely injured even though he was a 6-star king. Get lost! Fourth young Master Liang roared as a cold light flashed in his eyes. A terrifying energy erupted from his body and swept around. The entire space trembled. Buzz! A terrifying sword chi rushed out from his body and quickly blocked the 3 terrifying ice needles. Not only that, but he also charged toward Lu Mingyue. His speed was so fast that many kings around could not see him clearly. Buzz! A sharp sword light slashed toward Lu Mingyue. As for Lu Mingyue, she quickly retreated like a feather, incomparably agile. Seeing that his attack did not hit her, fourth young Master Liang sneered and pointed his sword forward. Girl, I have to say that your strength is indeed beyond my expectations. No wonder you dare to be so arrogant and kill people of the Liang family. However, this bit of strength of yours is simply not enough to look at in front of me. Therefore, I advise you to surrender obediently. As he spoke, fourth young Master Liang's expression was cold as a vast energy erupted from his body. At this moment, fourth young Master Liang was like a god of war. He was extremely terrifying. His aura was like a mountain that pressed down on everyone's hearts, making it hard for them to breathe. Lu Mingyu's beautiful face changed, but no one could see it because she was wearing a mask. Soon she regained her composure. Fourth young Master Liang is indeed powerful. However, it's a pity that you are not my match. If your first young master came, he might be able to fight me. But you are not qualified at all. Hearing this, everyone was shocked, while fourth young Master Liang's face darkened completely. The eldest young master that the other party spoke of was their Liang clan's #1 genius. His strength was incomparably terrifying, and he was even comparable to those saints and saintesses. And now, they were actually boasting shamelessly that only their big brother would be able to fight against them. And he, the fourth young Master Liang, was not qualified at all. This kind of disregard made fourth young Master Liang extremely angry. Wang! A cold light sword quickly slashed down, and the cold sword light soared into the sky. This sword was extremely sharp, and it slashed towards Lu Mingyue. Lu Mingyue shouted as the silver armor on her body shone brightly, forming rays of silver light that circled around her. At this moment, she was like a fairy that had descended to the mortal world, carrying with her incomparable holiness and coldness. She waved her jade-like hands, forming a dazzling light wave that turned into a misty light palm that slammed forward. This energy seemed weak, but it was filled with killing intent. Soon it collided with the cold sword light. Pung! The two collided, and the sound was very low, as if a rusty iron sword had collided in the air. Numerous cracks rapidly appeared on the terrifying chilling light sword ripple, before it exploded with a loud bang. Using softness to overcome strength again, Lu Mingyue had used this technique to the acme of perfection, and she easily neutralized the terrifying sword light. Not only that, the water-like light palm quickly attacked fourth young Master Liang. Poof! Fourth young Master Liang's body was like a ghost, and he kept dodging. But in the end, he was still hit by the palm. Immediately, his body kept retreating. His face was pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. This palm was extremely soft, and it caused him internal injuries. You! Fourth young Master Liang was furious. His eyes were cold as he stared at Lu Mingyue. To be honest, he was too shocked. This was because he did not expect that the other party's technique was so strange that it could hurt him. The surrounding martial artists were also in an uproar. Using softness to overcome strength again. She had practiced this technique to such a level. Where did this woman come from? She's too strong. Even fourth young Master Liang is no match for her? Looks like she really has the combat power of a saintess. Yeah, fourth young Master Liang is no match for her. I'm afraid that even the third or second young master might not be a match for this woman. Maybe only the eldest young master of the Liang family can fight against this mysterious woman. Indeed, the eldest young master of the Liang family was extremely strong. It was rumored that he already had the combat power of a saint. If he were to fight, there would be no mistakes. In an instant, the surrounding martial artists were discussing. It was obvious. The eldest young master of the Liang family was very strong, and the surrounding martial artists agreed with him. At this moment, a martial artist continued. Indeed, although the saints and saintesses are the peak of the younger generation in the eastern wilderness. But other than the peerless sacred grounds, the great sects, and the clans of the ancients, there are a few other young people whose combat power has reached the peak. The eldest young master of the Liang family should be one of them. No, I think this mysterious woman in front of us should also have the combat power of a saintess. Hearing this, the crowd nodded slightly. Lu Mingyue had defeated powerful opponents one after another and displayed unparalleled strength. Thus, the crowd classified her as a peak combat power. Have you heard? In the eastern wilderness, there's a youth called Lin Xian. He seems to be very strong. Indeed, it's rumored that he's being hunted down by the Wavering Light Holy Land. Even now, he's still able to get away with it. Not only that, I heard that Lin Xian displayed extremely strong combat power in the Oblique Moon mystic world. He's not any weaker than the Wavering Light Holy Sun. What? He can stand shoulder to shoulder with the Wavering Light Holy Sun? Could it be that he also has the combat power of a saint? Hearing this, the surrounding martial artists were in an uproar. However, someone in the crowd sneered. What saint? That brat isn't that powerful. Not that powerful? Impossible. I heard that he captured a genius disciple of the All Beginnings Holy Land, and even forced the All Beginnings Holy Land to change the candidate for saintess. It's not that exaggerated. That brat must have used some despicable method. Moreover, his cultivation isn't high. He's only a 4-star king. How can such a person stand shoulder to shoulder with the Wavering Light Holy Sun? Indeed, it's just a rumor. It's all exaggerated. His true combat power is definitely weak. Chapter 1831. The crowd was discussing. Clearly, they had only heard rumors about Lin Xian's combat strength, and most of them did not believe it. However, they did not know that the person they were talking about, Lin Xian, was right beside them at this moment. However, Lin Xian had used a disguise technique, so no one noticed. Lu Mingyu's expression was gloomy, and her aura was very unstable. It turned into a terrifying murderous aura that shot into the sky. That was because the people around her were not only talking about Lin Xian, but they were also talking about her. Every time she thought about how she had been captured by Lin Xian and lost her qualifications as saintess, Lu Mingyue felt a burst of madness. Therefore, in the next moment, she screamed, and her aura suddenly erupted. The silver whip burst forth with incomparably bright light. Like a silver dragon, it shot forth. Boom! The silver figure crashed into 4th young master Liang and sent him flying once again. This time, 4th young master Liang's injuries were even more serious. 4th young master! Young master! Exclamations came one after another. The Liang family warriors at the back exclaimed. They were extremely shocked when they saw this scene. They did not expect their 4th young master to be defeated. Moreover, he had been defeated in a very embarrassing manner. This was completely different from what they had expected. Demoness, you are too despicable. How dare you injure our 4th young master? Don't think that you can get away with it here. Just you wait. Once you leave Purple Cloud Palace, my Liang family will not let you off. Come out and fight to the death if you dare. The Liang family warriors roared crazily. They even sent out a few warriors to rescue 4th young master Liang. 4th young master Liang's face was pale, and his expression was unusually ugly. He could not believe that he had been defeated just like that. He stared at Lu Mingyue and said in a ferocious voice, "Damn it, who are you?" He was not willing to lose to a woman who was not famous. Lu Mingyue snorted coldly and ignored him. In response to the Liang family's clamor, she only said coldly, "Come and fight if you dare. If you don't, shut your mouths. Don't make a fuss here, or you will embarrass yourself." Mad, the Liang family's martial artists were really mad. As an enormous force in the northern region, they had always been high and mighty, looking down on everyone. But now, they were being scolded by a woman, and they didn't even dare to fight back. This was too humiliating. Where did this little girl come from? How dare she be so arrogant and look down on my Liang clan? At this moment, a dignified voice sounded. Then, a huge pressure shrouded the void like 100,000 mountains, suffocating everyone. Pung pung pung. Everyone was shocked, and their scalps went numb because they realized that this aura was too terrifying. It was much stronger than the fourth young master Liang from before. An expert. He was definitely a super expert. Unexpectedly, another expert from the Liang family actually came. In the distance, Lin Xian also put down his wine cup. The smile on his face disappeared, and was replaced by a grave expression. The reason for that was because he was able to sense how powerful that person was. This aura was too strong, too strong. It was definitely not something an ordinary person could emit. The other party was definitely a powerhouse. Lu Mingyu's expression was grave as well. Her eyes flickered as she looked ahead. In the next moment, the crowd automatically dispersed, and a stalwart figure strode over. Along with him was a dignified aura. It was as deep as the sea and incomparably terrifying. This aura was too powerful. It was like 100,000 mountains that could crush the heavens. What? It's him. Fear appeared in everyone's eyes. Who is that? Why haven't I seen him before? However, even more people were puzzled, because they had never seen that figure before. It was a middle-aged man in a green robe. He had a dignified aura. He was like an emperor with a powerful aura. You don't even know who he is? Do you know the eldest young master of the Liang clan? Someone quickly said. What? You said he's the eldest young master of the Liang clan? The others widened their eyes. What kind of joke is this? How can the eldest young master of the Liang clan be a middle-aged man? Could it be that his age is already so old? No one believed it, because it was different from the legends. Could he still be called the younger generation at this age? However, someone said coldly, What are you panicking for? I'm not done yet. He's not the eldest young master of the Liang clan. He's the master of the burning eldest young master. What? The master of the Liang clan's eldest young master. Everyone was even more shocked, and there was even fear in their eyes. The master of the Liang clan's eldest young master. Wasn't that an almighty? An almighty was going to deal with a little girl? Everyone was in an uproar. Hearing that, Lu Mingyue was also extremely nervous. She did not expect an almighty to attack her. However, the person who explained in the crowd twitched his mouth and was speechless. Heavens, I'm not done yet. Can you guys not be so agitated? Not done yet. Everyone was stunned. What is his identity? Hurry up and tell us. The surrounding people quickly asked. He is indeed the master of the Liang clan's eldest young master. But he's not an almighty. This time, the person who explained quickly said, the Liang clan's eldest young master's talent was average when he was young. It was only in recent years that he improved by leaps and bounds, and became the #1 expert of the Liang clan's younger generation. So before this, his master was not an almighty, but the middle-aged man in front. So that was the case. There was actually such a thing. Everyone came to a realization. They knew that the Liang clan's eldest young master was not ranked by age, but by strength. However, they did not expect that the Liang clan's eldest young master had such an encounter before. However, even if it was his former master, he was definitely an extremely powerful figure. Because everyone could feel from the aura that the other party exuded, he was definitely an extremely terrifying expert. This powerful middle-aged man strode into the battle area. Immediately the Liang clan's warriors shouted, Elder! Agitated, they were really too agitated. Because previously, the other party had suppressed the Liang clan until they could not raise their heads. This was intolerable. They even felt like fighting with their lives on the line. However, what made them even more desperate was that their fourth young master had been defeated. Even if there were experts among them, they would only be on par with the fourth young master. Unless the other young masters came, there was no chance of winning. Now, although the other young masters did not come, the eldest young master's former master, Elder Liang, had finally come. Although Elder Liang was not an almighty, he was extremely terrifying. His strength had already surpassed the fourth young master. Even the Liang clan's second young master might not be his match. Elder Liang nodded slightly, then looked forward and stared at Lu Mingyue. Chapter 1832. This was because she could clearly feel that Elder Liang's strength was extremely terrifying, far surpassing that of the Liang family's fourth young master. In fact, he was not much weaker than a true saint. Such a person was extremely terrifying. She had to deal with him with all her might. You're the one who provoked the Liang family? Elder Liang stared at Lu Mingyue and sneered. Little girl, I advise you to obediently admit your mistakes and follow me back to the Liang family to receive punishment. Otherwise, you'll regret it. Humph. Lu Mingyue snorted coldly. Just as she was about to say something, a burst of laughter came from afar. Regret? What's there to regret? The Liang family provoked us first. Moreover, who wouldn't get injured in a martial arts competition? As for returning to the Liang family to receive punishment, it's simply ridiculous. Hearing this voice, everyone was stunned. They did not expect that someone would dare to stand up at this time and openly go against the Liang family. Wasn't this an act of courting death? The Liang family's martial artists' faces were also gloomy. They were extremely angry and looked around coldly. How dare you go against the Liang family? Get out here. It seems that you don't know how powerful the Liang family is. Kid, no matter who you are, you're dead meat. Angry roars came one after another. Meanwhile, Elder Liang's gaze was also focused. It was like a sharp sword that pierced through the void. In the next moment, he turned his head and stared at Lin Xian. Were you the one who spoke just now? Elder Liang's voice was cold. The surrounding people also followed his gaze and turned their heads one after another. In the next moment, they all looked at Lin Xian. Who is this person? These people looked at Lin Xian and frowned. Who is he? Is he a genius of the younger generation? Maybe he's a genius disciple of a large faction who has a grudge against the Liang family. Everyone guessed. Indeed, although the Liang family was powerful, they were not invincible. Naturally, they had enemies. Those who dared to go against the Liang family at this time must be those enemies. The gazes of those martial practitioners of the Liang family, however, constantly swept over Lin Xian. Then, they seemed to have discovered something and asked carefully. Later, they looked up to the sky and laughed with endless arrogance. Ha 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 ha. I was wondering what kind of expert it was. So it's just a 5-star king. Kid, with your little cultivation and strength, it's simply not enough. Any expert from our Liang clan can easily kill you. I think water must have entered your brain, idiot. How dare you provoke our Liang clan? The Liang family martial artists sneered disdainfully. They discovered that Lin Xian's cultivation was no threat to them at all. Everyone else was in a daze. What? 5-star king? How is this possible? Then they checked Lin Xian's cultivation level and were all dumbstruck. Song Tian's cultivation was really only at the level of a 5-star king. But how was this possible? How could a 5-star king realm cultivator dare to provoke the innocent family? There were many experts from the Liang clan here. And there were even quite a few 6-star kings. In other words, even 5-star king tiers weren't strong enough here. Even ordinary 6-star kings didn't have any hope against the Liang family. They thought that since Lin Xian dared to openly defy the Liang clan, he must be an expert, at least an elite among 6-star kings. But they didn't expect that not only was the other party not an elite genius, but he wasn't even a 6-star king. He was just a puny 5-star king. Such a person dared to defy the Liang clan? Kid, I'll remember you. When we leave the Purple Cloud Palace later, I'll kill you with one slap. The innocent family martial artists sneered, their eyes filled with killing intent. They wouldn't let go of anyone who dared to openly defy them. If it weren't for the rules of the Purple Cloud Palace, they would have gone up and killed him with one slap. Lin Xian put down the wine cup in his hand and slowly stood up. Out of the Purple Cloud Palace? No need to go through so much trouble. I'll accept your challenge now. What? Accept the Liang clan's challenge? Is this kid crazy? He actually wants to attack the Liang clan. Does he know what kind of existence the Liang clan is? Where did this silly kid come from? I don't think he's from the North region. He's definitely not from the North region. In the North region, everyone knows of the Liang clan's existence. Everyone discussed, shaking their heads and sighing. The Liang clan martial artist sneered. Kid, you really don't know what's good for you. Since you're in a hurry to die, well, fulfill your wish. On the other side, Lin Xian waved his hand and tossed out a large number of subdivine crystals to buy the battle quota. Then his figure swayed and came to Lu Mingyu's side. Leave the rest to me. Okay. Lu Mingyu nodded and left the battle area to watch the battle. What? They're actually in cahoots. Seeing this scene, everyone was in an uproar. They originally thought that Lin Xian was just a silly kid, but they didn't expect that Lin Xian was actually related to Lu Mingyu, and it seemed that the two of them knew each other. I was wondering where this silly kid came from. It turns out that he wants to be a hero saving the damsel in distress. But unfortunately, being a hero also requires strength. Otherwise, he'll only be a coward. The Liang clan martial artist sneered. Kid, since you know that witch, that's great. Today, I'll kill both of you together. I want to let the world know the consequences of offending our Liang clan. Lin Xian sneered. So much nonsense. Who's going first? As soon as he finished speaking, he directly ignored those Liang clan martial artists outside and stared at Elder Liang instead. No way, is he going to attack Elder Liang? Everyone's scalp went numb when they saw this scene. This kid is too reckless, isn't he? How dare you? The Liang clan martial artists roared. Kid, with your status, you want to challenge our elder? You're really reckless. I can deal with you alone. A young man walked out of the crowd with a cold gaze and stared at Lin Xian. Elder, let me kill him. The young man said quickly. Hearing this, Elder Liang nodded slightly. Indeed, with his status, it was still acceptable if he wanted to deal with Lu Mingyu. If he attacked a 5-star king, he would probably be laughed at. Moreover, he disdained to attack a 5-star king. Therefore, even if he spent a lot of money to buy a battle spot, he would silently allow it. After getting Elder Liang's approval, the cold young man quickly bought a battle spot. Then he sneered and came to the battle area. Kid, you're really reckless. I'll kill you with my own hands now. I'll let you know the consequences of offending our Liang clan. The cold young man was really too excited. In such a scene, if he could easily kill the other party, it would definitely shock everyone. He might even be favored by the elder, and his status in the clan would be greatly improved. Chapter 1833. The gloomy youth was very excited. Fortunately, he had acted quickly. Otherwise, this precious opportunity would have been snatched away by others. Sure enough, many youths from the Liang family shook their heads and sighed with gloomy expressions. Damn it, we were too slow. This was because they also wanted to seize this opportunity to stand out. However, they were one step too slow and had been snatched away by the other party. How could they know that this was not an opportunity to become famous at all? Instead, it was a chance to get close to the Grim Reaper. Whoever snatched the spot would probably end up very miserably. This was because Lin Xian's strength was even more terrifying than Lu Mingyu's. Kid, are you going to kneel and accept your death, or do you want me to forcefully break your legs? The gloomy youth revealed a sinister smile. Lin Xian had an impatient look on his face. He had one hand behind his back, and the other extended forward in a provocative gesture. Come, I'll let you use one hand. What? Let him use one hand. The surrounding cultivators widened their eyes. They felt as if they were dreaming. As for the gloomy youth from the Liang family, he was even more furious. He had never been looked down upon like this before. You're courting death. With a furious roar, the gloomy youth's body exploded. He turned into a bolt of lightning and instantly charged towards Lin Xian. He waved his fists with surging power. They were like mountains as they ruthlessly smashed towards Lin Xian. Not to mention a 5-star king. Even a 6-star king would not be able to withstand this punch. Therefore, in his opinion, this move was enough to kill the other party. Boom! However, in the face of the gloomy youth's strength, Lin Xian's action was very simple. He immediately slapped him across the face. Pa! In the next moment, a crisp sound rang out in the air. The gloomy youth was directly sent flying, screaming in pain. What? Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded. They did not expect the gloomy youth to be sent flying with a single slap. How was this possible? Although the gloomy youth's battle prowess was not at the level of the Liang family's young master, he was still a 6-star king. Killing a 5-star king could be said to be a piece of cake. But now, he was actually sent flying with a single slap. Moreover, the other party was only a 5-star king. If they did not see it with their own eyes, they would not dare to believe it. Even though they had seen it with their own eyes, they still couldn't believe it. On the other hand, the Liang family was in an even greater uproar. Those martial artists were all frowning, and their faces were gloomy. Damn it! What is that guy doing? He can't even take care of a 5-star king? How embarrassing. If I had known, I would have let me go. Those people were extremely displeased because they'd already lost enough face, yet they'd never imagined that they'd actually be slapped in public by a 5-star king. If they didn't take revenge for this, they wouldn't have the face to live anymore. Stand up and fight back. Kill him. Damn it, what are you doing? Can you do it? If not, let me do it. Angry roars rang out one after another. Those young disciples of the Liang clan couldn't help but want to attack. The gloomy youth in front of him was sent flying with a single slap. More than half of the bones in his body were shattered. He was incomparably crazy. The next moment, he gritted his teeth and wanted to stand up and fight back. But very soon, he was stunned, and even his expression became incomparably terrified. Damn it, that's impossible. Where's my power? What did you do to me? Although Lin Xian's previous slap had seriously injured him, it wasn't enough to make him lose the ability to fight. But now, he actually didn't have a trace of power. What was going on? What happened? The surrounding cultivators were extremely puzzled, because they didn't know what had happened at all. Meanwhile, the gloomy youth stared fixedly at Lin Xian and roared crazily. Damn it, you crippled my cultivation. What? Everyone was stunned. A 5-star king had easily crippled a 6-star king's cultivation? How was that possible? But this scene really happened in front of them. At this moment, everyone looked at Lin Xian and sucked in a cold breath. They knew that they'd underestimated this young man in front of them, since he could become companions with that mysterious woman, and had the confidence to continue challenging the Liang clan. This meant that his strength was definitely incomparably powerful, and he wasn't even inferior to that mysterious woman. It was laughable that they'd mocked his cultivation, and even thought that he was crazy. Now it seemed that he wasn't crazy at all because he had the strength. Crippling a 6-star king with a slap wasn't something that just anyone could do. It had to be an extremely powerful expert to be able to do it. The Liang clan's cultivators also widened their eyes, not daring to believe the scene in front of them. The hearts of those young disciples trembled, but they also felt a trace of relief. Fortunately, they weren't the ones who stood out previously. Otherwise, they would be the ones crippled now. As for Elder Liang, his expression was gloomy and cold. He didn't expect the Liang clan to suffer another blow. The next moment he strode forward, looked at the gloomy youth kneeling on the ground, and snorted coldly. Useless trash. You've humiliated the Liang clan. After saying that, he raised his leg and kicked the other party away. The next moment he stared at Lin Xian. Good boy. I didn't expect you to be hiding your strength. However, since you dared to provoke the Liang clan, I won't let you off. And that demonic woman companion of yours, it'll kill you all together. Does your Liang clan only know how to talk big? Lin Xian sneered. You can kill me if you want, but do something. Otherwise, only your Liang clan will be slapped in the face. After saying that, Lin Xian put away his smile and took a step forward. A sharp sword light rushed out of his body and swept forward. Whoosh! Facing this cold sword chi, everyone was terrified, and their bodies trembled. They realized that they had indeed underestimated their opponent. This sword chi was too tyrannical, and they couldn't resist it at all. On the opposite side, Elder Liang also narrowed his eyes. Boy, you've indeed hidden your strength. But so what? Today, I'll let you know the true strength of the Liang clan. As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying aura also surged out of the middle-aged man's body and spread in all directions. Ka. In an instant, the auras of the two people clashed in the air, creating an intense collision that sounded like a thunderclap. This aura directly alarmed the other cultivators in the hall. There's a fight between experts. Chapter 1834. The Reverence Moon Saintess was covered in moonlight. Her entire body was blurry, and no one could see through her. However, this mysterious feeling aroused everyone's curiosity. Boom! However, at this moment another enormous aura surged forth. It was as if a huge mountain had suddenly descended. It was a tall young man, and he looked like a god of war. Every step he took was filled with an aura that could crush the heavens. The four symbols Holy Sun is here too. Everyone was stunned. They did not expect the four symbols Holy Fingers to appear after the Reverence Moon Saintess. What's going on? Why are there so many Holy Suns and Saintesses here? Could it be that something big has happened in the North region? Everyone was discussing. Crack, crack. On the other side, countless bolts of lightning surrounded a purple figure in the void. He was like a god of thunder, standing on a thundercloud and looking down. The thousand lightning Holy Sun. Heavens, the third Holy Sun has appeared. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect that a battle would attract so many top-notch peerless experts. Those were the Holy Suns and Saintesses, the most powerful existences in the younger generation. Usually, they would not have the chance to see them. Now, not only did they see them, but they also saw three of them. Everyone was discussing, and their hearts were pounding. But soon, they shifted their gazes because the battle was about to begin. Lin Xian was like a peerless divine sword, extremely sharp. Countless sword lights surrounded his body, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. His whole person was extremely sharp. That terrifying aura shrouded the entire space. Elder Liang snorted coldly, and his robe fluttered. He was like a peerless god of war that had descended to the mortal world. Go to hell! Elder Liang roared and punched out. The terrifying fist condensed in the air, and it was like 100,000 mountains and slammed down. Lin Xian's eyes were also focused. He waved his arm, and rays of sword light flashed and rushed forward. Sword chi soared into the sky, and each ray of sword light contained peerless killing intent. The surrounding martial artists were shocked, and they exclaimed. That was because the sword chi was too terrifying. Even the Reverence Moon Saintess, the Thousand Lightning Holy Sun, and the others looked solemn. Who is this kid? How can he be so fierce? The Reverence Moon Saintess whispered to herself. On the other side, the myriad Thunder Saint's eyes flickered. This was because he felt a sense of familiarity from these sharp sword energies. However, he wasn't completely sure. Boom! The two forces collided and suddenly exploded. Terrifying energy surged. However, at this moment Lin Xian attacked again. The demon sword soared through the air and slashed down with great force. The black sword chi was like a mountain, as if it could split the heavens and earth. Not only that, there were 6 different colored sword chis flashing behind him, quickly combining and interweaving. It formed a sword diagram that shrouded the area ahead. That sword diagram was incomparably terrifying. It blossomed with exquisite radiance, instantly enveloping Elder Liang. What a terrifying sword diagram! Seeing this scene, everyone felt their scalps go numb. Even the expressions of the experts who had looked down on him earlier changed. This was because they realized that the sword diagram was truly too terrifying. If they were to go against him, they wouldn't be able to resist at all. He would most likely be killed in an instant. No one dared to look down on Lin Xian anymore. Even though the cultivation base he was currently displaying was still that of a 5-star king. Get lost! Elder Liang roared angrily. He looked at the sword diagram that was descending from the sky, his entire being incomparably furious. Boom! His fist blasted out, carrying a supreme domineering aura. The terrifying fists were like meteorites, rushing into the sky. Boom! 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 These fists were too terrifying. They quickly collided with the sword diagram, producing violent fluctuations. The two sides fought, and were in a deadlock. Seeing this scene, the Liang family's cultivators all heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, their elder Liang was able to resist this terrifying sword diagram. Otherwise, if he couldn't resist it, they didn't dare to imagine the consequences at all. The others were also moved. This elder Liang was indeed worthy of being the eldest young master's former master. His strength was indeed formidable. He could easily block such a terrifying sword diagram. Lin Xian also raised his brows. One had to admit that the other party's strength was indeed formidable. It was just that he was a little old. Otherwise, if he was a few hundred years younger, he might be able to become a saint-level figure. In the next moment, he executed the heavenly dragon's 8 steps. His entire person transformed into a stream of light, rapidly charging forward. He waved his long sword, and various terrifying unique skills were quickly unleashed. "Brat, you're too arrogant." Seeing that Lin Xian dared to take the initiative to attack, Elder Liang roared in anger, and a ferocious look appeared on his face. Boom! Incomparably terrifying energy erupted from his body, and he then struck out with his palm. Green light flickered in his hand, and countless wind blades surrounded it. It easily cut through the void and grabbed towards Lin Xian. Green light godly wind palm. Many people exclaimed in surprise, because this was a terrifying unique skill of the Liang family. The Liang family's cultivators were excited, because their elder had finally used a powerful killing move. Even the Reverence Moon Saintess, the Thousand Thunder Saint, and the others in the distance had a solemn look on their faces. This was because they had heard of this unique skill before. Feeling the terrifying power of the green palm, Lin Xian's expression also turned solemn. However, in the next moment he snorted coldly, and his left fist was like a dragon punching out. Dragon Shadow Rampage. The terrifying fist carried an aura that could destroy the world, accompanied by countless black dragon shadows, instantly covering the entire void. Boom! 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 The black dragon shadows that filled the sky instantly rushed towards the green palm, and immediately shattered the wind blades that filled the sky. In the next moment, the two of them fought together, and they kept exchanging blows. Terrifying super skills were quickly displayed. Every single one of them was a unique skill, and they all contained unlimited power. Everyone was dazzled, and they exclaimed in surprise. This was because they realized that the two of them were simply too powerful. Elder Liang was an elite among the 6-star kings, and he was able to teach someone like the eldest young master. It could be said that his strength was absolutely terrifying. Therefore, Elder Liang's strength was within their expectations. However, Lin Xian's strength surprised them greatly. This young man that they had once looked down on had now displayed unparalleled combat strength, and his ever-changing martial skills. This really made them exclaim in surprise. Boom! Suddenly, an incomparable divine furnace appeared in the void. The scarlet divine furnace was extremely bright red, as if it was made with fresh blood. Not only that, but there was also a flaming phoenix on top of it. A monstrous flame aura rushed towards them, as if it was going to burn the world. Seeing this scene, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Those who didn't know would think that it was an earth-ranked treasure. However, everyone clearly saw that this terrifying flaming phoenix divine furnace was formed by Lin Xian's sword qi. Chapter 1835. This terrifying flaming phoenix divine cauldron was formed by Lin Xian's sword qi. This technique was heaven-defying. Boom! 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 The flaming phoenix divine cauldron shone brightly in the sky. Then a phoenix rushed out of the flames. Carrying a sky full of fire, it quickly charged towards Elder Liang. All of this was formed by Lin Xian's sword qi, but it was so real. Although the surrounding people were separated by a defensive formation, they could still feel the monstrous heat of the flaming phoenix. Ordinary 6-star kings could not resist this aura at all. Elder Liang's expression was also solemn. He roared and waved his palms continuously. Suddenly, countless green gusts of wind swirled in front of him, and then burst out. Strong winds swept across the sky, and walls of wind covered the sky to resist the flaming phoenix. The wind and fire clashed, creating a huge wave of energy. In an instant, countless black cracks appeared in the void. However, Lin Xian's sword qi was simply way too strong. At this moment, the flaming phoenix that was formed, and the divine cauldron that was emitting a torrential aura behind him tore apart the raging winds. Liang family? Arrogant. Today I'll suppress you. Lin Xian was like a demon as he controlled the huge cauldron and quickly suppressed it. Seeing this, everyone's scalp went numb. The warriors of the Liang family were even more upset. They did not expect Lin Xian to be so powerful that he could even suppress their elder. Humph. However, Elder Liang snorted coldly. Then, he took out a long blue sword from his storage ring and quickly slashed forward. 9 slashes wild sword. Elder Liang roared crazily and slashed out 9 sharp sword lights. A terrifying aura wreaked havoc in the sky with monstrous power. This was not an ordinary saber light, but a very strange saber light. Not only did it cause physical harm to the warrior, but it could also destroy the soul. It could be said that it was both powerful and strange. It was impossible to guard against. That's great. Elder Liang has finally used his ultimate move. That kid is dead meat. Humph, of course. Once the 9 slashes wild blade is unleashed, I'm afraid that no one below the Almighty can resist it. No matter how powerful that kid is, he won't be able to avoid this kind of soul attack. Let him be arrogant again. When I catch him, I'll definitely cut him into 108,000 pieces. Let him know the consequences of offending our Liang clan. When those martial artists from the Liang family saw this scene, they all laughed maniacally. This was because they were extremely confident in the 9 slashes wild blade. In the sky, 9 dazzling saber lights flashed. Each of them was extremely sharp and carried a terrifying killing intent. The saber radiance swept across heaven and earth, completely sealing Lin Xian. Seeing this scene, the surrounding cultivators shook their heads and sighed. In their view, no matter how valiant Lin Xian was, he would not be able to withstand the 9 slashes wild blade. He's definitely going to lose. Although that kid is strong, he is still too young after all. His experience and combat strength are not as good as Elder Liang's. Elder Liang is incomparably terrifying. Back then, he almost became the eldest son of the Liang clan. Although they didn't succeed in the end, the foundation that they have accumulated over the years is not something that any youngster can contend against. Everyone sighed. In the crowd, Lu Mingyu's eyes also flickered, but she was still very calm. This was because she knew that this kind of attack was not enough to pose a fatal threat to Lin Xian. Sure enough, in the next moment, Lin Xian looked at the 9 saber lights flashing around him and sneered. Then countless sword chi condensed behind him, forming the 6 sword deity phantoms. Kill! Lin Xian roared and began to counterattack with the 6 sword deity phantoms. At this moment, the great dragon sword soul in his body circulated wildly, and a terrifying energy swept in all directions. Each of the 6 sword deity phantoms was extremely terrifying. In addition to Lin Xian's original body, a terrifying power filled the entire sky. In an instant, the entire void began to tremble. If it were not for the defensive formation in this area, it would have been destroyed in an instant. Following Lin Xian's counterattack, the terrifying saber radiance in the sky also dimmed, and some even began to shatter. How is this possible? The 9 slashes wild blade was actually broken. Am I dreaming? How can this brat's sword chi be so strong? Even the slashes wild blade could not resist it. What kind of sword technique is this? Why have I never heard of it? Could this kid be from the Myriad Swords Manor? Crazy exclamations were heard one after another. Obviously, everyone was shocked by Lin Xian's sword chi. Even the Reverence Moon Saintess, the Myriad Thunder Saint, and the 4 Symbols Saint looked extremely serious. This kind of sword chi was beyond their expectations. Looking at the terrifying attack, Elder Liang's face was extremely ugly. He originally thought that he could easily kill Lin Xian with the 9 slashes wild blade. But now his ultimate move was broken again. This made his heart feel unusually heavy. In the distance, Lu Mingyu's eyes flickered when she saw this scene. To be honest, she knew that Lin Xian was powerful, but she did not expect him to be so powerful. Lin Xian's combat strength had increased too quickly in such a short period of time. He was much more terrifying than when she first met him. Thinking of this, a touch of bitterness appeared at the corner of Lu Mingyu's mouth. With his terrifying growth speed, even if she became the saintess of all beginnings in the future, it would be difficult for her to surpass him. In front of them, the two exchanged dozens of blows, and then quickly distanced themselves from each other. Among them, Lin Xian looked calm and his aura was even. On the other side, Elder Liang's face was extremely ugly. The reason for that was because the battle this time had truly exceeded his expectations. Now he also understood why Lin Xian dared to provoke the Liang family. With his current combat strength, Lin Xian was definitely an elite among the 6-star kings. With such combat strength and such a young age, he was definitely a young genius. Kid, I have to admit that you're very strong. You're beyond my expectations. Elder Liang's face was cold, and his body was surging with killing intent. But do you think you can defeat me like this? You're too naive. I'll let you know my true strength. It turns out that Elder Liang did not use his full strength. Hearing this, the surrounding martial artists exclaimed. The Reverence Moon Saintess, the Myriad Thunder Saint, and the 4 Symbols Saint nodded slightly. They could also see that Elder Liang should still have some unique skills that he had not used. On the other hand, Lin Xian looked calm. How could he not know that Elder Liang had hidden his skills? Moreover, he did not use his full strength. Therefore, in the next moment, he said indifferently, use whatever skills you have. I'll take it. Umph. Elder Liang snorted coldly, thinking that Lin Xian was trying to be brave. In the next moment, he opened his mouth, and his aura suddenly soared. Then he spat out a mass of green air. The air was very small, and it was faint green, blooming with green light. However, it emitted an extremely terrifying aura. This aura made everyone's expression change drastically. This is the North Pole wind, someone exclaimed, and his face was full of horror. At this moment, whether it was the Liang family's martial artists, other experts, or even the Reverence Moon Saintess and the Myriad Thunder Saint, they all looked extremely solemn. Chapter 1836. Whether it was the warriors of the Liang family, or the other experts, even the Reverence Moon Saintess, and the Thousand Thunder Saint, they all looked extremely serious. Obviously they had heard of the Arctic wind. The true spirit world was divided into 5 continents. The northern region was in the north of the eastern wilderness, and further north was the northern plains continent. The climate there was completely different, and there was often a world of ice and snow. In the extreme north of the northern plains continent, there was an iceberg. It was said that the wind from there was called the Arctic wind. That place was extremely terrifying, and it was almost a forbidden area for humans. There were no demonic beasts there. However, there was a very strange fish that lived there. The Arctic wind was contained in the body of the Arctic fish. It was said that the Arctic wind was so terrifying that it could easily freeze a king to death. One could imagine the terrifying energy it contained. However, they did not expect Elder Liang to have something as terrifying as the Arctic wind on him. In the sky, the Arctic wind was only the size of a fist, and it kept spinning in the air. However, the aura it emitted made all the martial artists shudder with fear and trepidation. Lin Xian was also astonished. He was naturally able to sense the power brought about by the cold wind. He did not expect Elder Liang to have such a treasure. It was even more threatening to him than an upper-grade Earth-rank artifact. Boom! At this moment, Elder Liang let out a long laugh. Suddenly, the Arctic wind in front of him expanded and spun rapidly, forming a terrifying gale that enveloped the surroundings. Kid, I didn't want to use this method, but you're the one who asked for it. You should be proud that you forced me to use the Arctic wind. Elder Liang's voice was cold. Even his body was covered in frost. Lin Xian raised his eyebrows when he saw this. Originally, he felt that the Arctic wind was a little troublesome. However, it seemed that it was not that difficult to deal with now. Based on the current situation, Elder Liang could not fully control the Arctic wind. This gave him a chance. The next moment he said coldly, although the Arctic wind is powerful, it seems that you haven't fully mastered it. You're in a hurry to use it now. Aren't you afraid of the backlash? Kid, don't be delusional. Although I haven't fully grasped it, it's enough to kill you. In the next moment, Elder Liang controlled the Arctic wind and quickly charged towards Lin Xian. Hoo-hoo-hoo! A cold wind blew in the sky, and a terrifying white storm swept out in all directions. Everywhere it passed, it turned into ice and frost. The expressions of the spectating kings all changed. This was because the cold air was too terrifying. If they were hit by this wind, no matter how strong they were, they would probably be frozen into ice dregs. It's over. That kid is dead for sure. This Arctic wind is extremely terrifying. Even a powerful being might not be able to withstand it. Humph, he dares to oppose my Liang clan again. He's done for this time around. What a pity for such a young genius. Looking at this scene, everyone shook their heads and sighed. Some even sneered. However, without exception, they all believed that Lin Xian was dead for sure this time. Even the Reverence Moon Saintess, the 10,000 Thunder Saint Sun, and the others shook their heads slightly. Then they turned around and prepared to leave. Boom! The white storm surged, and the Arctic wind quickly enveloped Lin Xian. In the next moment, he would be frozen into an ice sculpture. On the other hand, Lin Xian looked calm. He felt the terrifying cold wind, and even the spiritual energy in his body was about to be frozen. But soon, he snorted and activated the sea god's ice in his body. Instantly, an equally terrifying and monstrous ice power erupted. Boom! Ka-ka-ka. In the next moment, the blue light on Lin Xian's body exploded, and blue crystals that looked like water droplets appeared in front of him. He released a terrifying power to resist the white storm. Icy power. This kid also has the icy power. At this moment, many people exclaimed. It was obvious that everyone was surprised that Lin Xian could use the power of frost. The warriors from the Liang clan sneered. It was just an ordinary icy power. How could it compete with the Arctic wind? Just wait and see. In the next moment, he would be frozen into an ice cube. Seeing this, Elder Liang sneered and shook his head. He activated the Arctic wind even more crazily. Ka-ka-ka. But soon, his face turned pale because he found that his opponent seemed to be able to resist his Arctic wind. What? How is this possible? It can't be. That kid really withstood the Arctic wind. Heavens, am I dreaming? What kind of means did he use? Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw this scene. They had never thought that Lin Xian could resist the Arctic wind. At this moment, even the Reverence Moon Saintess, the Thousand Thunder Saint, and the Four Symbols Saint stopped. They were ready to leave because they thought there was no suspense in this battle. But now they were equally surprised, because things were beyond their expectations. Instead of being frozen, Lin Xian resisted the Arctic wind. How was this possible? The Arctic wind was so terrifying that even an almighty would have to retreat. How did that kid resist it? The Reverence Moon Saintess frowned. The other party seems to also possess a type of ice power. Could it be that he can contend against the Arctic wind? The Thousand Thunder Saint's eyes flickered. The Four Symbols Saint guessed. Is it because Elder Liang has just obtained the Arctic wind and hasn't cultivated it well enough? Is that why he can't unleash the full power of the Arctic wind? The fact that Lin Xian was able to withstand the Arctic wind stunned everyone present. Even the three sons of the great sage were guessing what kind of means Lin Xian had used. Impossible, damn it! This is absolutely impossible. How can you resist the Arctic wind? The one who was most shocked was of course Elder Liang. He knew the power of the Arctic wind best. Although he hadn't fully refined it, no one below the Almighty could resist it. But now Lin Xian was able to resist it. This surprised him. The Arctic wind is indeed terrifying. But you don't have enough and you haven't fully refined it. Don't you think it's too naive to use such a half-finished product to resist it? Lin Xian sneered. He activated the sea god's ice, and the terrifying icy power spread rapidly. Ka-ka-ka. The Arctic wind that filled the sky trembled rapidly, and was even about to be suppressed. Heavens, how is this possible? The Arctic wind is at a disadvantage. Although Elder Liang hadn't fully refined the Arctic wind, it wasn't something that other ice could resist. Everyone was shocked. Even Lu Mingyue was surprised. She didn't expect Lin Xian to have such a treasure. Chapter 1837. She did not expect Lin Xian to have such a treasure. One had to know that Lin Xian had the sea god's ice. It was also a legendary ice treasure. It was even rumored that someone had frozen the entire sea with a peerless divine ability. One could only imagine how terrifying the power of ice was. At this moment, it was perfect to deal with the Arctic wind. Boom, boom, boom. The two powers of ice collided in the air, and the Arctic wind was gradually suppressed. Not only that, but Elder Liang was also in a very bad state. He had not completely refined the Arctic wind to begin with. He had forcibly used it, causing the frost aura on his body to increase. Coupled with the threat of the sea god's ice, Elder Liang finally could not take it anymore. He spat out mouthfuls of blood and kept retreating. Seeing this, the warriors of the Liang family went crazy. That was their hope, but they could not do anything to Lin Fan. Who is he? How can he be so powerful? They were in despair. You've lost. Take your people and get lost. Lin Xian withdrew his hand and said indifferently, Impossible. Damn it, how could I lose? I don't believe it. Elder Liang went crazy. He could not accept this reality. In the next moment, he swallowed a few elixirs, and the power in his body exploded. Kid, no one can defeat me, and no one dares to provoke the Liang family. Go to hell. At this moment, Elder Liang was in a frenzy. His entire body carried the North Pole wind as he rushed over quickly. Whoosh! The wind whistled and completely froze the space. Not only that, but two icy whirlwind hands quickly formed and slammed toward Lin Xian. Stubborn. Since you want to die, I'll grant you your wish. Lin Xian snorted with a cold expression. To be honest, he did not want to kill Elder Liang, because he did not have a deep grudge with the Liang family. But now, Elder Liang wanted to kill him, so he had to fight back. With a wave of his hand, the power of ice quickly surged and turned into a blue ice sword that Lin Xian held in his hand. Buzz! With a swing of the sword, a terrifying power of ice exploded. Not only that, but it also contained a monstrous murderous aura. Boom! With a slash of the sword, the Arctic wind that filled the sky was instantly torn apart. The two large white hands were also split in half from the middle. Elder Liang's body trembled as he fell from the sky. This sword was simply too sharp, directly splitting Elder Liang into two halves. However, his body did not split apart. The reason for that was because the power of the sea god's ice had instantly frozen Elder Liang's body, turning him into an ice sculpture. With a plop, the ice cube fell to the ground. It was smashed into pieces. The battlefield was completely silent. Because everyone was stunned, she couldn't believe her eyes. He was an elder of the Liang family. They were the elites among 6 star kings. But now he had been killed instead. This was simply inconceivable. No. Elder. The warriors of the Liang family reacted. Each of them had a ferocious look on their faces as they shouted crazily. They were truly unable to accept the reality before their eyes. On the other side, Lu Mingyu's eyes flickered. He was shocked. Originally, she thought that she already knew enough about Lin Xian, but now it seemed that her knowledge was too shallow. Lin Xian had too many tricks up his sleeves. She couldn't see through him at all. On the other side, the Reverence Moon Saintess, Thousand Thunder Saint, For Symbols Saint, and other sky prides were also frowning. Lin Xian's combat strength was beyond their expectations. Moreover, he was very young, even younger than them. Such a person was enough to threaten them. Therefore, in the next moment, all eyes were on Lin Xian. These eyes contained different emotions. Some were shocked, some were praising, and some even had a hint of hidden killing intent. Lin Xian didn't care about this at all. He stood with his hands behind his back. He was extremely calm, just like a sword immortal. Kid, you dare to kill an elder of the Liang family. You're dead meat. Kill him and avenge Elder Liang. The warriors of the Liang family roared crazily. Some of them couldn't even control their emotions as they charged towards Lin Xian. Humph! Lin Xian snorted coldly. Battles were unpredictable. If the other party dared to attack him, he wouldn't mind killing them all. The battle was about to break out again. However, before Lin Xian could attack, a terrifying energy fluctuation came from the void. Instantly, the few warriors of the Liang family were shrouded. A huge wave of energy swept over from the sky like a wave, intimidating the entire space. The terrifying aura made everyone tremble in fear. This aura was much stronger than that of Elder Liang and the others. It was obvious that this person had entered the ranks of the Almighties. Don't you know the rules of the Purple Cloud Palace? A majestic voice came from the sky. It was the people of the Purple Cloud Palace. Hearing this voice, everyone was shocked. They knew that the Gu family had interfered. The few disciples of the Liang family who had gone crazy were also shocked. Then their expressions returned to normal. They could feel the fierce aura surrounding them, and a strong sense of fear appeared in their eyes. Do you want to break the rules of the Purple Cloud Palace? At this moment, the majestic voice came again. No, we don't dare. The warriors of the Liang family hurriedly shook their heads. First of all, this was the territory of the Gu family. The Liang family did not even have any almighties present. Therefore, if a fight really broke out, they would not be able to resist at all. Moreover, the Liang family would not easily start a war with the clan of the ancients over an elder. Therefore, at this moment they could only endure. Kid, just you wait. When we get out of the Purple Cloud Palace, you'll be in for it. When the time comes, it'll show you the true power of the Liang family. There will be no place for you in the North region. The warriors of the Liang family roared crazily. Then, they glared at Lin Xian coldly. Let's go. In the next moment, they snorted and turned to leave quickly. In the main hall, the surrounding warriors were still in shock. A series of discussions and crazy screams could be heard. Obviously, the impact of this battle on them was too great. It was expected that Lin Xian's combat strength was too strong. He was not much weaker than the sun. Moreover, he was so young. Perhaps in a few years, he would be another sun. Who is this kid? Which sect is he from? How can he be so strong? I've never heard of him. Could he be a genius disciple secretly cultivated by some sacred ground? Discussions broke out one after another. After a long time, the excitement gradually died down. However, many people still looked at Lin Xian from time to time. Even the Reverence Moon Saintess, the Thousand Thunder Saint, and the Four Symbols Saint did not leave. Chapter 1838. Even the Reverence Moon Saintess, the Thousand Thunder Saint Sun, and the Four Symbols Saint Sun did not leave. They chose a place nearby and drank while hitting Lin Xian from time to time. They seemed to be very interested in Lin Xian. Lin Xian met up with Lu Mingyue. The two of them also came to a place and tasted wine in silence. During this time, many kings came up to Lin Xian to talk to him. They seemed to want to befriend him. Lin Xian did not reject these people. However, he only talked to them on the surface. He would not tell them about his identity, origin, and purpose of coming to the North region. In the sky, the majestic energy disappeared quickly. Then a figure appeared. It was a middle-aged man. He was burly and had a dignified appearance. His eyes were like cold stars. His two curved eyebrows were like sword radiance. As he stood there, he exuded an awe-inspiring aura. His appearance naturally caused a commotion in the battle area. This was because they knew that this middle-aged man was the Almighty who had stopped the Liang family from attacking. He was obviously from the Purple Cloud Palace. Behind the Purple Cloud Palace was the Gu family. In other words, he could be a martial artist from a clan of the ancients. In an instant, the surrounding martial artists all stood up and bowed to the middle-aged man. Even the Reverence Moon Saintess, the Thousand Thunder Saint Sun, and the Four Symbols Saint Sun stood up and bowed slightly. The other party was an almighty. Moreover, this was the Gu family's territory. They had to keep a low profile. The middle-aged man, Wuxia, looked around and nodded slightly. Then he strode forward. In that direction was where Lin Xian was. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. They did not expect the Gu family's almighty to be heading toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian was also surprised. Then, he put down his wine cup and stood up to bow slightly. Greetings, senior. Beside him, Lu Mingyue bowed as well. The Gu family's almighty Wuxia nodded slightly and smiled. Not bad. A young hero with such combat strength at such a young age. I'm afraid you're not far from the saint level. Thank you for the compliment, senior, said Lin Xian. However, he was very confused. He did not understand why Wuxia was looking for him. He did not think that it was just to compliment him. Wuxia asked calmly, Young hero, may I know which sect are you from? I'm just a rogue cultivator without a sect. As for my clan, it's too small. I'm afraid you've never heard of it. Guxiao was shocked. To his surprise, he did not expect him to be a xiao. One had to know that rogue cultivators referred to those who did not belong to any sect or faction, and wandered the Jianghu alone. This kind of person seemed to be carefree, but they did not have the backing of a sect or a family to rely on or provide resources. It could be said that they were the least valued group of people in Jianghu. Of course, there were also experts like this, but the number was very small, far less than the sects and those huge aristocratic families. However, the ancient cultivator did not expect that the young man before him was actually a loose cultivator. This was truly beyond his expectations. However, it was better this way. His original intention was to recruit Lin Xian. If such a young genius could join the Gu family, he would definitely be a powerful force in the future. Guxiao was a little worried. If Lin Xian was a disciple of a sacred ground, there might not be any hope of recruiting him. But now Lin Xian was just a xiao. He was confident that he could get Lin Xian to join the Gu family. However, there was no rush. He had to take it slow. Guxiao said calmly, I see. I didn't expect you to have such combat strength despite being a xiao. It was really shocking. By the way, there will be a small auction on the 5th floor of the Purple Cloud Palace. Are you interested in participating? Auction. Hearing this, Lin Xian's eyebrows twitched. I wonder what's going on at the auction. Hearing this, a look of disbelief appeared on the ancient cultivator's face. Although the auction is small, the items inside are not bad at all. Most of them are precious cultivation techniques. There are even some treasures. Cold Spring Holy Water and Connate Purple Thunderstone will appear in this auction. Connate Purple Thunderstone. Lin Xian's heart beat wildly. He came to the northern region to find this thing. He didn't expect it to appear now. Lu Mingyue was also surprised. Then they looked at each other. Lin Xian said with a smile, Thank you, senior. Since there was a Connate Purple Thunderstone, Lin Xian would definitely participate in this auction. He had to get this stone. Well, take the purple invitation. You can directly enter the auction on the 5th floor in a while. Guxiao put down an invitation, and then turned to leave. Thank you, senior. Lin Xian held the invitation card in his hand as a smile appeared on his face. Great. With the Connate Purple Thunderstone, the formation to deal with powerful figures can be completed. Then, we can kill the Saint of all beginnings. Thinking of this, not only Lin Xian, but Lu Mingyue was also excited. She said in a deep voice, This time, no matter how much it costs, we must get the Connate Purple Thunderstone. There was still half a day before the auction, so Lin Xian and Lu Mingyue enjoyed some singing and dancing in the hall, and tasted some spiritual wine. After half a day they got up and went to the 5th floor. At this moment, the Reverence Moon Saintess, the Thousand Thunder Saint, the Four Symbols Saint, and some other experts also went to the 5th floor. Everyone who could go to the 5th floor was an expert. They were either young geniuses or old experts. None of them were weak. After Lin Xian and others left, the hall suddenly quieted down. However, there were still many people who were not qualified to participate in the auction. They could only talk here. The topic that was talked about the most was Lin Xian. That was because the battle prowess that Lin Xian had displayed was simply too powerful. Furthermore, his identity was so mysterious. It was only natural that they were curious about him. Do you think that guy is a saint in disguise? How can an ordinary rogue cultivator have such strong combat strength? Moreover, he's too young. I'm afraid that the geniuses of the North region have a rival. Not necessarily. Although this guy is strong, the combat strength he has shown so far is not at the level of a saint. Most importantly, he has offended the Liang family. Presumably, he will be hunted down by the Liang family. Whether he can survive by then is another matter. Everyone was talking about it, and they were not optimistic about Lin Xian. After all, the Liang family was the top force in the North region. Although Lin Xian was strong, he was only one person. Without the support of a huge force, he could not compete with a giant like the Liang family. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.